Okay, so man, I'm a few days late on this. I didn't really hear about this until today. I don't really pay attention to the fucking breadtube crowd much anymore, as you've probably found out by the fact that I mostly cover right wing stuff. So that's why I'm behind on a lot of this drama. But yeah, this is fucking gross. I think before you sleep, I have some opinions against him too, but mostly on like his very militant stance against like lolicon, which I think I get why he has it, but I used to have it as well. I just don't really see the point in it anymore. But here we have Noah Sampson being just a disgusting piece of shit. So a lot of people have been calling, like, if you support Palestine, you're anti-Semitic. And I didn't really get what it was about because I didn't really pay much attention to it. I was like, for me, I always said I support the citizens of both countries not dying in a pointless war, right? My position has basically just been anti-war, right? Like, hey, stop bombing each other, both of you, right? You both have kids that you both have parents that are being shot for mourning the kids that you shot the other day. Like, that's beyond fucked up from both sides, right? Both sides have that where they're killing people on the other side with drone strikes and bombs and all that pretty indiscriminately. So yeah, fuck Hamas and fuck the IDF is just my position. But the ordinary citizens who aren't terrorists or military people, yeah, I side with them, right? So I don't side with terrorists. I side with people who, actually just are normal people trying to make ends meet and stuff. So these guys make it so, like, supporting that is bad, supporting that, but not supporting it all the way to, like, being completely anti-Semitic is apparently bad for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, let's think before you sleep. Talk about it a bit. No, Hassan is full of shit. Now, I will say this. I think he's full of shit on what he says here, too. Like, notice, I think Hassan is literally pretending to have the same positions a lot of these other people have for views and attention. Like, he's doing it to grift off the drama. This guy legitimately believes it. Same with, like, Bad and Pinata and all them. Right? It's funny. I made fun of Bad and Pinata by, saying that Metatron trying to talk any sense into Bad and Pinata or his audience was a fool's gambit because, like, it just wasn't going to happen. The dude is a fucking loser, degenerate troll. And I was correct on that, right? And that was probably, like, for quite a while, my most disliked video. Apparently, me siding with Tim Pool, but not, apparently me siding with Tim Pool, but also making fun of the way he looked because, as a joke to, dunk on the people saying he wouldn't be interested in a skate park by saying he looks like a stoner. Like, The joke was that that's the crowd that is interested in skate parks, is like the stoner with the beanie and stuff, right? So I said he looks like a stoner, and people were mad at me about that because he's not a stoner apparently, and I'm supposed to know that, not watching a lot of his content and openly saying I don't. But I got the gist of he was on the right side, and people were mad at me from his like fan base because they assumed I was attacking him by saying that all the misinformation that the left is spreading caused people to be fucking violent and vile, and it was not okay. I have said that I think it could, like, maybe it could have also been the fact that I implied that the right doing it too. Like, this was because I covered a video of right-wing misinformation before. I said this is why the right should not engage in that because that's where it leads. And that might have also been it, but, like, it seemed like that wasn't why people were mad at that video. People were mad because I said Tim Pool looked like a junkie as a point on why he would be interested in a skate park. And, like, yes, that's what I'm going to assume by looking at the guy. But I also, sided with him on the morals of the argument. I don't get that. But all right. But that's actually my current most disliked video, which it was just kind of weird, Yeah, I'm pretty sure. He's always had a bunch of criticism about the fact that he's a communist. That is also a fucking like a millionaire kind of guy. He's like he's the champagne socialist, right? The people who like LARP as communists and then like have bazillions of dollars because that's how that's what they do. They grift off of it for funds. Yeah, like the initial video, I didn't really see anything wrong with either of their videos, to be honest. I feel like I still think that Think Before You Sleep had no idea what like the point of a lot of the video was. But yeah, the idea of him doxing her that's completely false. Now, the idea of him not getting that she was actually criticizing the same things he was criticizing 90% of the fucking video. I don't know why that didn't catch on to him, but that was kind of a thing. But like the point was she was saying that like a lot of the advice you get from health professionals is awful, and that a lot of and it also sucks that a lot of ads basically just promote unhealthy foods as if they were actually healthy. I just realized I don't have audio. Oh well, it's okay. He's just talking about how Hassan is a piece of shit and how Noah Samson is also a piece of shit.
I guess he decided that slandering one of his opponents to try to get his audience to deplatform that opponent wasn't enough. So now he's slandering.
Also realized Power World's playing.
To try to get his audience to, we'll get to that. But first, a little backstory on the whole Hassan Piker, Noah Samson, and Ethan Klein situation. About 2 months ago, YouTuber Ethan Klein released a content nuke on his former Leftovers podcast co-host Hassan Piker, who has endorsed things like terrorism, has violated the Twitch rules numerous times, and never gets in trouble for it like any other creator who is not Hassan would. Some people might call that a double standard. In response to Ethan's video, Boosted e-girl Noah Samson, who basically has had his entire career made by Hassan reacting to his videos, decided they can't have people criticize.
It's also the funny thing, like a lot of people don't really want to admit this, but like React content does generally help you get like bigger views and stuff. Not all the time, but generally it does, right? Like people are like, well, their views are larger than mine. It does, like, you get views, right? Not everyone will view it, especially if it's a bad video, but people tend to view good videos after they've seen it from a big streamer. Not as, like, you know, like, if you, like, a good way to say it, right? If Asmongold gets 20 million views a video, right? I don't think he gets that many. I think he gets easy 2 mil, right? I barely get hundreds if I'm lucky, right? So if I get 1% of those videos, I instantly get 20,000 views. If you like to say it's at 2 million views, right? I will be at 20,000 views, right? That's a lot of views, and that's good. So, you know, like, that's good for any channel, right? Like, people are like, it's not proportional. I don't fucking care. Look, at the end of the day, right, you're getting more views than you would have. And it is very proportionally higher. Now, back in the day, I would argue that React content was a bit toxic because the algorithm tended to work a little differently. Like, now it, like, basically orbits a few people, right? So, like, it's always orbiting Asmongold, Critical, and stuff like that, right? So it orbits the React guys. So in order to get any eyes on your channel, you need a React guy, basically, right? Otherwise, your channel is going to effectively just stay dead. That's just how it works, right? It's like the same thing with like Twitch raids and stuff. Like, it's a thing where people, you know, give you stuff for, you know, your stuff effectively.
His pay pig, because if people point out all the rule breaking that Hassan has done and he gets banned from Twitch, who would boost all of Noah's videos? So after Ethan's content nuke, Noah made this video called "The YouTubers Who Backed a Genocide." You got Destiny on the left, Turkey Tom in the middle, Mudahar on the right of him, and to the far right, you have Ethan Klein doing sort of the closest screenshot that Noah could get of something that looks like a Nazi salute. And basically, Noah spends this whole video saying stuff like this. Wait, that's the wrong clip. This is the correct one.
Israel has a long history of intentionally targeting Palestinians.
Oh man, if he said that, I think like people wouldn't really be giving him as much shit. Honestly, I think he is incapable of saying that sentence. You know, you might actually see like a swastika even forming in the background, in the shadows, right? Like the idea that these guys are against fascism is always pretty dumb, because communism is effectively just fascism. Like, but without like the nationalism, right? So like they're both bad. I'd say fascism is worse, but they're both incredibly shitty, and both basically rely on genocide to get their stuff done, right? Like Italy, Germany had their genocides. Everyone else that's called a fascist is just a capitalist. Like Argentina is not fascist, guys. America isn't fascist, at least not fucking right now. As much as people say, I don't think there's a genocide coming. I think there's signs to be wary of, like the whole El Salvadorian thing. Although I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know if that's actually true, or if Trump is like just pulling people's legs, and they're just saying that because like they deported her, and they want to troll people. I don't think that a president should troll his citizens, though. That's just my thing on that. So regardless, I don't really support saying that at all, but I also don't support it happening. I don't think it's happening though. But other than that, like, those are all signs, right? Symptoms of something happening, but not any like actual like proof.
Civilians for slaughter. Genocide isn't just bad thing that's happening where people are dying. No, that's not what it is. It's a Holocaust. The U.S.-Israeli Holocaust. That's what it should be called. Israel is using everything in its power to eradicate Palestinians from the planet. The fact that Israel's actions in Gaza amount to genocide isn't controversial. Not among the experts, at least.
That basically sums up Noah's whole response to Ethan's content nuke on Hassan. There's a lot of misery porn of Palestinians being hurt, and Israelis are the Voldemort-like evil perpetrators of that harm. And look, personally, I don't have a lot of interest in this war. I'm not a big fan of the US getting involved with other people's drama, and contrary to Noah's completely one-sided coverage, it seems like both sides have done some pretty horrible things. But this video is not about fact-checking Noah's research on Israel and Palestine, which I'm sure is as horrendous as it usually is. What this video is actually about is Noah Samsen pushing his audience towards violent radicalism through slandering other creators and openly calling for his audience to use violence to achieve their political goals. That being said, let's go further into detail for why Noah didn't like Ethan's content nuke on Hassan.
The real reason I'm talking about Ethan's video today is less about what he says in it and more about what he doesn't say, the things he chooses to leave out. Ethan omits the Palestinian side of the story entirely. He doesn't talk about Gaza. He doesn't give any specifics about what Israel is
Well,
doing.
yeah, he's not going to talk about Gaza.
Manufactures consent for large-scale terror operations across the globe in a number of ways. There are more overt forms, like atrocity propaganda. There are also more subtle ways, like deceptively framing information, using passive language, and creating false perceptions about conflicts through things like burying the lead and lies by omission. All of these tactics are present in Ethan's video and the wider online smear campaign that motivated it, but it's that last thing that I think does quite a bit of damage.
Wider online smear campaign, alright, buddy.
Framing from Noah. Ethan's video is more about Hassan and not fully a response to the Israel-Palestine situation, so of course Ethan is going to talk about the Israel side a lot more, because he's playing opposition to Hassan. Even still, Ethan makes a point in his video to sympathize with what's happening to the Palestinians in Gaza. Funnily enough, Noah actually includes one of the...
And like, this is another thing, right? This is Gaza, right? That's why it's called the Gaza Strip, right? Like, yeah, they're not in a good position. It definitely sucks. But here's my thing, right? It's not like I think like they Hamas literally was never elected, and a lot of this conflict started after Hamas murdered the elected Fatah party, and took over through armed militaristic force, right? So you have these guys who are ruled by terrorists who hold their lives and their kids at gunpoint. And then they basically force hospitals and stuff to manufacture weapons against their will under threat of being shot, while causing more people, more of their citizens to get shot by trying to take on all of this by themselves completely. Purely, I don't fucking know why.
One of these moments in his video.
Like, they're just, like, Hamas is just evil and full of shit, right? Like, there is no, like, Hamas are the good guys, like, debate, right? Palestine has good people in it. The people running it are not them, okay? The IDF has good people in it. I think, like, the leaders of it are, kind of full of shit too, but like that's every fucking military. My military has leaders that are full of shit, but I'm not going to pretend my cousin is full of shit because of that, right? But the difference between like IDF and Gaza and like IDF and Hamas, and why I will say there's good people in IDF and not really in Hamas. Hamas murdered their way into power. IDF, is just a military, right, for Israel, right? So So yeah. And people are talking about how like Israel is colonialism or whatever. The fuck. Israel was there for thousands of years before this was a thing. Right? There were many like takeovers over hundreds of years. Like about 600, 700 years ago, right? 500, 600 years ago, right? And that's when Israel became Palestine, I believe. Something like that. So, yeah, like they've been Israel for most of it. They're not colonizing it. First off, in order to colonize, they'd have to actually, like, they got this land, by the way, out of a treaty due to World War II. For those who are wondering, right? After being genocided themselves, they got some of their land back as part of a deal, right? It's like that's part of the reason why they have the land that they have back. It's back, by the way. They were already there. This is their land, right? So they got land back, right? So yeah.
But he is such a sociopath that he takes this moment that Ethan is using.
And they still get to keep the Gaza Strip, right, for Palestine, right? So it's still called Palestine, officially as well, and also the Gaza Strip. So they still have a Palestine, and it's just not as big as it was. So yeah.
To sympathize with the Palestinians and uses it to attack him.
Towards the start of his video,
And I do think that if Hamas just stopped fucking being full of shit, they would like continue the ceasefire because they had been before, right? But yeah, Fatah also, by the way, was always about like defense in case, right? But like it never happened under Fatah, right? So they had like a 20-year like ceasefire kind of thing, and then like 2001, right? Everyone remembers 2001 they had like a bunch of war going on, right? Well, what happened? Well, I think like in 2000, right, the year beforehand, Fatah was taken over by Hamas. So for those who are wondering why, Israel's been at war with them for so long, it's because Hamas started it. Kinda, like that's kind of how it is, okay? Hamas are objectively the worst people there, right? There are bad people on Israel, sure, but most of them are in Hamas's side. Just objectively speaking, right? Those are the bad guys.
Mentions a death toll figure of 40,000 Palestinian people.
Of course, if you compare the raw numbers, Gazans have lost a lot more than Israelis. 40,000 people have died, and neighborhoods have been completely flattened during this war.
The figure he cites is wrong. It's just wrong. Credible estimates have placed the full scale of the slaughter in Gaza at over 65,000 deaths due to traumatic injury.
Who cares if he got the number wrong?
So, I will say this. Maybe he got the number wrong because he used an earlier source. Right? Like 60,000 is, worse than 40,000, sure. But also, like, what's the chance that, he looked it up and those were like a legitimate source, but they were just like earlier, right? Because like obviously the earlier you look, the lower the number is going to be because it's still going up, right? As long as the war goes on, number go up, right? So that number is going to continue to rise until the conflict ends, no matter what, right? That's just how it works. Is how it works. The death toll of a war, as long as the war is continuing to go on, is always going to be number go up. So a source from last year might say 40,000. A year before that video might say 40,000, while a video today might say 70,000. It's probably higher now. Right? Number go up. The war is still going, so number go up. You know, like an official source from a few months ago might be outdated because it's just continuing to happen. That number is going to continue to rise. Yes, we get it. He was wrong on the number, but he also said that they suffered more, a lot more, and used a pretty, there was a point where that was pretty accurate, is all I have to say, right? Like this is the whole conflict, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, is there not that many people in either, like, country, right? So I don't know. I might be wrong, and it's actually, like, the total for in a single, like, attack. I don't think it is, though. I think, like, because their land is, like, so to put this in perspective, their land is, like, Rhode Island sized, but, like, Nevada density. I think, like, they actually don't have more than a few 100,000 people. And Israel is kind of the same way, just bigger. So, yeah.
That's not the point of this statement. The point is to do something that...
Or I guess a good way to say it, right? They have the size of Las Vegas, but the density of the rest of the state. Have you ever been to Nevada, right? Las Vegas is where every single person lives, right? Or like when people say state electoral college for Nevada, I'm like, God, 3 people live in that district, my guy. Like, yes, land does matter when there's more than 2 people on it, yes. But when the entire, like, district is a single gas station, you know, and that's it, I don't really think that should count as a voting district, like, towards the election at all. Like, any election, for that matter. Like, honestly, if he's the only one there, why is he not the fucking mayor? Right? If there is a mayor, why is he not it? He's the only one in the district. And, like, this will be, like, several Nevada districts, by the way. Or it'll be, like, a single family or even a single person in the entire area. And, like, that's got a voting district. But and it has a mayor. It's just the mayor is not from there because, like, the dudes who live there are never the... And it's so stupid. Like, why have that be a district at all, right? And, of course, there's stateside reasons why. Like, you know, obviously there's reasons, but, like, it just... Like, you look at Nevada, it makes no fucking sense. Like, how, like, yeah, Gas Station Joe is, yeah. Like an entire voting district. It's just kind of funny. I'm being honest.
The nice guy of YouTube has never really gotten the hang of, which is to spend at least a second of your video showing the humanity in your opponent. I really find it disgusting that instead of using this moment to find common ground with Ethan, Noah downplays Ethan trying to humanize the Palestinians. He actually does this...
Yeah, like... And you'll see later, like, Noah gets really disgusting with his views and what he defends.
Again later in the video, as he chastises Ethan for daring to donate to Palestinian victims.
Hey, Ethan Klein, thank you for the dono. Ethan Klein gave $6,500. My goat.
What did he do? He donated to a fundraiser. Okay, but what if I told you that this donation was a one-time donation of what is likely less than 1% of his yearly income?
Gee, what...
Yeah, see, this is a thing that people did to a friend of mine, Arispat, right? So for those that don't know, when the Black Lives Matter George Floyd protests were going on, he got caught in a Telegram chat saying things that were definitely not okay to say, right? I have never said that he should have said the things he said there, but I have said that people should cut him some fucking slack multiple times. I've kind of gotten mini canceled myself over that, right? But, like, everyone, like, you know, has their thoughts on that, and they're very aggressive on hating him, right? Calling him a Nazi and stuff, right? Now, for those who don't know, Arispat is Jewish, right? So calling him that is really fucking stupid, right? Like, it kind of pisses me off, like, the idea of that being a thing. Like, you can call him a fascist, I can kind of get that, because, like, some of his takes, if you were to take them seriously and not as jokes he said while pissed off that his city was on fire and drunk as fuck, which, by the way, was also some context that should be necessary for that. What he said wasn't okay, but there's many people who say not okay things while drunk and in a state of panic and terror, right? But he had given thousands of dollars to several charities, right? And people kind of when I would tell people that, they would kind of oh, that doesn't fucking count. I'm like, why? And they're like, because he has millions of dollars. I'm like, who the fuck cares, right? That is thousands of dollars that they did not have until he donated it. Fuck you. Like if you care about the causes, right? Them getting money from someone you don't like because they feel remorse for some of the things they said a few days ago while drunk is still progress, my guy, that you would have not had. Now, of course, it turns out that, save for one of the organizations, they were actually pretty shitty. So, he did donate to a couple, and apparently he was able to sniff out the shitty ones, because I looked at the charities. They are not like the ones that had the commie fucking bitch, fund thing. And, I looked at, the reforms they were looking for and actually seen, shit that, was actually common sense and not just saying it was. So it wasn't defund the police. It was actually more of a, literally something that should have always been done, which is, make sure funding for education actually fucking goes to education and stuff. Right? It was basically a end the fucking money laundering in New York City bill kind of thing. And yeah, people might be like, whoa, that actually is a problem in New York City. New York City, you wouldn't have homeless women being set on fire and police officers refusing to do their job if they were getting paid well, right? Now, the defunding in New York City kind of didn't last forever, so their funding was kind of back to what it was pre-COVID era, right? So that's not what happened, right? What happened there, right, that caused all that crime to rise instead was that, the police just didn't do their fucking jobs on actually bad issues. And that's why, you got, Luigi Mangione. See, I do simp for Luigi Mangione, but here's the thing, right? I don't agree with him murdering a CEO, right? I've said that before, too. But I will not weep for a CEO who is not exactly, on my list of good people list, right? However, right, the reason why I sympathize for him and not, say, Hassan specifically, right? Well, what did he do, right? He had a problem with a specific insurance company. That specific insurance company, he felt, led to the deaths of millions of people. How much of that is accurate, I do not claim to know. But he felt that, right? He genuinely felt that. So what did he do? Did he, start a riot and cause damage to his uncle's liquor store in order to piss off, the CEO by, damaging his parents' livelihoods? No, he did not do that. Okay, so let's say B. Did he lie and cause a panic or anything like that? No. Did he see bitch on Twitter? No. What he did was he attacked the problem directly, right? Now, there are peaceful ways of doing this as well, but he attacked the issue directly. He did not get in anyone's way besides the person he thought was a problem. He went up to him in the middle of the night, knowing that they were basically the only two people there, shot him, made sure he was dead, left a bullets with casings of words to send a message, and then left and ate McDonald's in another state. That's what Luigi did, okay? So nobody besides the CEO got hurt here, right? He was very direct and intentional with his opposition to this asshole, right? Obviously. And that's the thing, right? Another thing, right? Like, it's the same like the Teslas, right? I don't really like Elon Musk, but why are we fucking burning Teslas, right? Like, I know people who have Teslas, they aren't fucking doing anything. Now, I don't like Elon Musk for, honestly, personal reasons. It has nothing really to do with the reasons most people are hating him. My problem with Elon Musk is, every single time I hear him on the news, it has never been good. And by the time, I never had the positive experience of Big Bang Theory at all, right? I'll be honest, I didn't really ever like that show. So, maybe that's another point for me. I'm not liking Elon Musk, but the first time I heard of him, right, I never watched Big Bang Theory until after this, but the first time I actually, saw Elon Musk, right, was that Thai cave incident, right? Now, I don't like Elon Musk, obviously. So, I'm, because that's my first experience of the guy. So, my reason for disliking Elon Musk is that literally the first encounter I had with him was bad. Right? They have never had a positive memory of this guy's existence. That doesn't mean I want him to die, but I'm saying I definitely don't think that attacking cars bought by ordinary people who, by the way, are trying to get to fucking work and are struggling just as you are, I think that doing that is worse. That's the real thing of the woke, right? They always attack people who are trying to better themselves to basically make sure they can't, right? It's the same thing with my friend Aries, right? Aries Bad effectively was, they kind of gave up on ever, I don't want to get too much into his personal life, but he basically gave up on trying to make any goodwill with the furry fandom ever again, right? Because they basically broke that out of him. They said, we are never going to let you ever succeed back in our community. Fuck you. You we don't like you. You did a bad thing 5 years ago. And we will forever be pissed at you. So he said, okay, fuck that. That's insane. I'm not staying here. And he left. He is no longer a furry. And he will never, he doesn't really want to interact with any furries at all, ever again. So congratulations, anti-wokes. You won. You didn't win any prizes. You just, made a guy permanently spite you and hate your fucking guts because, he tried to do things to better the situation in the ways he could, and you rejected every single olive branch that he put out and every single apology that he tried to send for forgiveness, to the point where it became blatantly clear that you guys were unreasonable pieces of shit, and any attempt to try to quell your anger was just for naught. All right? So you guys, be proud of who you are, and that you accomplished nothing with your life except pissing people off, Just, there you go, right? Anyway.
With a thank you like that, why would anyone want to help the Palestinians? That being said, Ethan Klein wasn't too happy about the slander from Noah Samsen, especially the part where Noah called him a supporter of mass murder of innocent people that Ethan, by the way, in reality sent money to and openly sympathized with on multiple occasions. So,
yeah, this is just really stupid. I don't even get like the point of people being against Ethan Klein, right? There are many reasons to be against Destiny. Like, I mean, to be honest, like, is there even really a reason to support Destiny at all? I don't know. Right? I don't know. Tom Dark, yeah, he has some drama. Mudahar is basically like, you know, like there's some things I like about his content, but like he's basically, you know, just like his friend Nuxanor, he's full of shit and will backstab you the moment, you know, he feels necessary. But otherwise, you know, like all of these guys are better than this asshole, but like, you know, comparatively, like this guy's almost as full of shit. This guy's shit, like he's like half full of shit. This guy's sometimes full of shit, you know, like every once in a while. And Ethan Klein, I'm being honest, like really every single controversy ends up being a non-controversy for him in the end. And I feel like it's just because like it, you know, like it just he's like he just stays out of drama that isn't like personally affecting him. So like here's the thing, right? All of these guys are like, aha, you're you know, you're defending this position on a war, right? He has family that is there, right? He has actual stakes in this conflict that none of these assholes do, right? Like I don't think Hassan has any family, despite actually like kind of hailing from like that area. So like he has family involved in the conflict, family and friends who are at death's door, basically. And then these guys are trying to smear him for being like on the side that, hey, I'm not going to defend the terrorist in this scenario, but I will also sympathize for the, you know, casualties of war. You know, and I think that, you know, the war should just kind of stop, and you know, we should also try, if we have to use force, we should try to focus primarily on Hamas, kind of thing. That's kind of like his position here, which is legitimately the fucking most sane position to have. Yeah, like he's not, oh, fuck these people. He's, hey, look, I got people on this side, you got people on that side. Let's just have a ceasefire where nobody dies. You know, we don't have news of babies being beheaded or bombed to death. You know, can we do that, guys? Please. And it never happens. And people take that very obvious olive branch as if it's a poison. They do it so fucking much. And it's always, like, to their own, like, you know, folly at the end. Like, all these woke guys end up fucking, like, in the toilet, right? It's like the Western Kabuki guys as well, right? I said they're full of shit, right? That doesn't mean that, like, I think Grums is a good person. I have pretty, hopefully pretty clearly proven that I don't. I think it's, like, very obvious that my position on that thing, right, will kind of never be like, I don't think it'll ever truly be on that side, you know. But people still want to say that it is for some reason. I don't know. Just people want to, you know, assume a lot of things, kind of, too, right? But yeah, the idea of, but regardless, the idea of siding with Hamas will ever be the right move. I'm just like, No. And anyone who thinks that is just, what is wrong with you? Right? See, fuck Hamas. Like, like that's really the thing, right? Whenever someone would ask, "Do you condemn Hamas from the Israeli side?" Now, sometimes they were doing that as a C right tactic, and they never were actually trying to like if you did, they would try to do something else to move the goalpost, right? But he right, like Ethan Klein, I call it he because it's the threes are elite speak for E. It's a term on the it means giggle, right? He giggle, right? That's what it's referring to, right? So yeah, the productions, because he's a comedian. Believe it or not, Ethan Klein is a comedian. So the reason why he's a bit edgy sometimes is because his job is to tell jokes. And now that I will say this, I always found like the whole like Carl Benjamin jokes are supposed to be offensive thing bullshit. Because it's not true. Jokes are not supposed to be offensive. They're supposed to be funny. The reason why offensive jokes should be allowed is that's the reason why comedy exists, right? So comedy exists to make you laugh primarily, but by making you laugh, it lets you see perspectives you would never otherwise engage with, right? So you're laughing at criticisms you would never ever listen to if it wasn't from a sense of someone with a sense of humor. That's actually the point of why comedy should be offensive. It's not that it is offensive, it's that it should be offensive because, or at least like you should expect some offensive things to be said. Because the entire point of comedy is that it can offend you and you will still listen to it because the fact that you laughed at it made you pay attention to things you wouldn't pay attention to otherwise. That's actually the power of comedy, not the point of comedy, right? Is really what I should say. It's the power of comedy. You will listen to criticism more often if it entertains you, right? If you are overjoyed, laughing at the fact that someone pointed out reasons you're a piece of shit, you will be more inclined to listen to those criticisms because you're entertained by them, and so you will kind of see it less as hostile and more as genuine constructive feedback. This is why advisors who were very critical of the king, otherwise known as jesters, were a big position back in the day. Jesters were not just make silly jokes and throw pies at each other. That's clowns. Jesters would make silly jokes, but those silly jokes gave them advisory positions that were almost always, historically, second in command on moments of turmoil, right? So his highest rank advisors would basically be thrown out the room in times of panic because he was like, okay, I fucked up somewhere. These guys ain't going to tell me where I fucked up. You got to tell me. Funny man, you do it. You're good at that. And so he would have them do it. And that's like why like so many jesters were basically like right-hand mans of the king unofficially. Like you had the right hand man, and then you had the jester who was like the emergency I fucked up right-hand man, right? That's how it historically was. So yes, H3H3 uses comedy to do criticisms of people and things that people wouldn't otherwise listen to because they found it just an attack on them, right? This is why authoritarians, no matter what side, always despise comedy. They despise comedy because comedy is how you listen to criticism. And criticism, right, like as a way to get people to listen to things that are fucked up, will get people to understand that the things that happen in communism and fascism are fucked up. So they don't like that, so they try to kill comedy. This is why BreadTube, and there are people on, like, you know, the right that are doing it as well recently. They haven't been, but now they've started to do it. And this is why, right? It's a tactic that basically gets it so you're not allowed to make fun of people who are legitimately in, like, screwing people over. Yeah, like that's the thing, right? The power of comedy isn't that you should always punch up, right? You can punch down, but you like the point, like the power is that it's the only way to really punch up, right? Like you can't punch up without comedy, basically. You can punch down with anything. A society punches down all the time, but you can't punch up without comedy, right? So that's ultimately the point. However, punching up, you know, isn't like some arbitrary bullshit term like these guys will say, right? Punching up is, right, someone has political authority over you, right? So a terrorist from Hamas will have political authority over Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker, right? Same with like an IDF soldier, right? Like because they're in political power, and Ethan Klein, is not. Ethan Klein has no political power, so by definition, he is only able to punch up, because that's really what punching up really means, right? Going after someone with more political power than you, right? So a billionaire, right, who is very much donating to all your politics, has political power over the average citizen. Likewise, a lobbyist organization does as well as a union, such as SAG-AFTRA or something, right? I don't really like SAG-AFTRA, but that's not really why I mentioned them. That's just like the first union that came to my head, okay? I'm more of a movie buff than anything else. I don't really know too many other unions, okay, right? But like those are like things, right? So these unions come out and they have political power. You as an individual who are just voting, and that's about it, you have like the minimum power of anyone in the United States. So a politician will always have, a politician and like a lobbyist billionaire will always have, right? Always, objectively, up position from you in the punch up, punch down scale, right? If you don't. Right, so the president will always be the biggest punch-up face in the country, which is why whenever there's a new president, people tend to switch over to criticizing him more. For those who are wondering why we all went from Obama sucks to Donald Trump sucks to Biden sucks to Donald Trump sucks again, you know, there is a legitimate reason for that, right? It's called, those are the guys in power, so if this is the asshole I gotta, you know, submit to, I'm gonna want to make sure my voice is heard. So that's like why people are more critical of Donald Trump now, and not just TDS people, right? Like, I wouldn't really be talking about Donald Trump that much last year, right? I'd be talking about like, I don't know, like, I think I mostly gave positive feedback for him last year because, like, you know, obviously the assassination attempts and shit. But then, like, he got in power, and I'm critical of the way he's doing things. And I'm not talking about Biden because, you know, outside of, like, jabbing at how fucked up his economy already was to people who are, like, the terrorists are ruining the country. No, the terrorists are making an already ruined country worse. Biden ruined the country. Trump is just doing things ass backward as fuck and in the wrong order. like, I support what he's doing, and I support his plan. I will not support the execution and the order of that plan. That's my criticism of Trump, right? Also, like, the focus of trans rights early on was kind of really weird. I don't really see, like, why that was, like, a big thing. Like, especially since, like, they removed trans rights for military soldiers, but then they also kind of re-implemented them accidentally or maybe on purpose. Maybe it actually was a way to say, hey, we remove these rights officially, but also we can't actually ask you for your gender anymore. So technically you still can be trans in the military. We're just going to not put it on paper anymore. Right? Like, that's kind of like what happened, right? So officially, trans people are not in the military, but they're still in the military, if you know what I mean, right? Basically, yeah, anyone who wants to fight can still fight, but it's like a don't ask, don't tell thing. It's sort of like Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A, you know, like, the guy doesn't like gay or trans people, but a lot of gay and trans people go there. A lot. And the reason why is because, like, you know, it's just a good place to fucking work. Turns out, like, that's just, you know, having a guaranteed day off and making good money is usually a good sign for people like to go there. And, you know, the people who shop there tend to be better because it tends to be a more conservative and slightly friendlier group of people. So, yeah, Chick-fil-A just tends to be a better place for anyone to work around. Just in general, right? It just in general, Chick-fil-A is just a better restaurant to work at. That's like, you have a lot of gay and trans people who work there, and because, like, you know, technically no one can really ask about these questions anyway. You don't. It doesn't really matter, right? So that's honestly, like, the thing. It's like a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing there too, right? You know, like, we're not gonna ask you if you're trans. The guy doesn't like them, but, like, I don't fucking care. Like, you're good at the job, and you're good at talking to people. There we go. There, you're hired. Here's your, like, decent wage and you know, friendly staff, and also you get Sundays off. Right? Like, you know, like, it's just a lot of things that are really good with that thing because. Basically, purely because of, like, how it's run without how it's run. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? That's also, like, why DEI was ruining it, by the way. DEI really didn't have much, like, they were getting money from it. But, like, a fast food restaurant's always going to hire a lot of black people anyway, right? This is how it works, right? But, like, the reason why, like, Chick-fil-A was starting to be, like, ruined by DEI is they were going to get rid of the fucking Sunday stuff. Yeah, like, believe it or not, that's why, like, the Chick-fil-A might open on Sundays thing was in the headlines of about a year ago. That's legitimately why. So, yeah, fuck DEI. They almost got rid of the best thing about Chick-fil-A.
Now lawyers are getting involved.
And again, I'm not taking any prisoners. If my attorney thinks there's anything in here, if he thinks that there's, like, a decent shot of defamation, I'm suing this fucking piece of shit, little scumbag. It's not a threat. You'll be hearing from us very soon, my friend. Start crowdfunding, start looking for an attorney. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, legitimately, this is, like, it's sort of like the reason why, like, I, like, started getting critical of, like, a lot of the West. Like, you guys know I'm critical of Grum's. I'm not on Grum's side at all, right? But despite that, right, I started criticizing some of his critics because, yeah, some of it is a little cray-cray, right? Like beyond cray-cray, right? I'm not talking about the denims thing. I'm talking about, like, in the Western Kabuki thing. It's like you made an entire video where you just kind of dox that he was everyone already knew he was a porn addict. Like, you just told me what I already knew about the guy by looking at his Twitter. And you made like an hour-long video on that, right? Now, they did apparently find out he's a lolicon, although he swears he's not. But newsflash, by the way, the Debbie Chan character was 16. And you know, she was apparently like an allegory for his ex-wife. He's apparently a potential there, right? That's not a confirmed, but like the 16 years old is confirmed. And you know, so it's like underage for California at least, because that's where he lives, confirmed. And the other things, right? You know, like you know, her basically like being in like lolly gay rape wrestling porn, very like it's very obscene stuff. Yes, very bad. But it's really only a bad look, right, for him as a father and husband. I don't really care about that. Like, his wife divorced him. His kids are not in his house anymore. So yes, we know that we know now that the reason why she left Crumbs is because he gooned too close to the sun. Absolutely. However, Grum's gooning too close to the sun being an issue for his home life is not something that I needed to have an entire docs video on everything about him to get. I kind of figured that out already. And the character being a lolicon is no interest to me. I don't really care. Look, I even, like, this guy is an anti-lolly. I'm not, right? I'm not really pro-lolly either. I'm just like, hey, look, whatever tickles your pickle, just leave me the fuck out of it, right? That's like my position. Just leave me out of it. I'm, you know, you know, like, apparently, like, the only reason I'm defensive of them on the Texas thing, because I looked into it a lot more than I did on video. Apparently, it is just like, it is also like intended as an AI ban, but it also is kind of a lolicon ban because of how it is written and like the way the definitions are kind of pseudo shifted, right? So the definition for the new segment of the law, right? Because you have separate definitions for each segment. So the new segment is defines like it in a way that would work with lolicon, right? And that is not good if you're a lolicon in Texas. Now, I don't really like that law, right? Because I think, like, you know, it shouldn't be illegal. You know, if you want to frown upon it, sure, right? This guy frowning upon it, sure. I just don't think it should be illegal, right? Like, my stance is it should be legal, but you can also frown upon it without, like, saying this person should go to prison for not harm. Like, my thing is prison should be you're actively causing harm to someone IRL, right? So if you are potentially harming your own brain chemistry, right? It is my thing with drugs too, right? If you take fentanyl yourself, I don't fucking care. If you give fentanyl to someone, especially a kid, you should go to prison. If you give it to a kid, I might even advocate for the death penalty, right? Because that's the thing, right? It's a very dangerous drug, whether it's you know, you're addicted or not. But if you're taking it, okay, look, if you die, your funeral, right? But the person who gave it to you, fuck that piece of shit. That person should go to jail or maybe even be executed. I'm gonna be honest. I think drug dealers who deal drugs to children, especially ones that heavy, should have the death penalty as an option. I am very much against that kind of behavior. But if you do drugs, you know, especially weed, right? I think weed should be decriminalized just in general, right? But the way drugs are dealt, like, that should also still be illegal, right? So like there should be like, you know, like when it's legalized, there's vendors, right? And those vendors, you know, it's more expensive, but they offer just a better service anyway. So not only is the weed better, like that's one perk, right? But also like it's safer. So look, if you want to do that, look, it's going to kill your brain stem and, you know, like brain chemistry, and you'll be lazier. But ultimately, first off, it's regulated. You have to be 21 to get them in places it's legal. I think that's fair. 21 to drink, 21 to do weed, 21 to do cigarettes, honestly. You should just be 21 to do it, right? I think that's a good age for using these drugs, right? Now, I had the position of earlier it should all be 18, and I raised it to 21. Turns out I do change my mind as things progress. I've changed it on trans issues too. I used to be like trans rights are human rights, and I still will say that. But but now when I say that, I mean, hey, if it would be a human right, like without the trans context, it should still be a human right. So, adults getting cosmetic surgeries is a human right. So, as long as they pay for it, right? So, if a trans person wants cosmetic surgeries, i.e., transitioning, you know, it's the same thing. And people, but it's for mental health or whatever, right? Well, also, so is the cosmetics. A nose job is done for mental health, right? You do it to raise your self-esteem. Now, there might be more to it for gender dysphoria, but ultimately, the point of transitioning is to raise your self-esteem, to make you feel better about yourself, right? So, ultimately, they both serve the same purpose. It's a cosmetic, surgical or drug-induced operation that is basically designed to make you feel better. You know, I'm supportive of that being a thing, but on the context of, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna got another little thing I gotta do. Oh, I'm just sending all these fucking parties out. Anyway.
Sue Noah for this. Maybe now one of these radical leftist influencers will actually suffer legal consequences for committing crimes. This is absolutely slander. Not only did Noah make this thumbnail straight up accusing Ethan of supporting people being murdered, not only did he remove important context from multiple things in his video, but he also doubled down on it.
So he is threatening to sue me for defamation on the grounds that accusing someone of supporting genocide is messed up. I can think of something even more messed up than accusing someone of supporting genocide, which is, actually supporting genocide.
Noah actually has a history of making false accusations with his video titles and thumbnails. This is not a new behavior from him. Speaking of the Alienation drama, where a YouTuber I reacted to tried to get me a channel strike by telling her followers to mass flag me, last year, Noah used an intentionally deceptive title and thumbnail to make people think that I doxed Alienation in retaliation for the mass flagging campaign, when in reality, I in fact not only did not do that, but I openly told people to not attack her even though she told her followers to attack me. No.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Now, to be fair, I think Alienmation's video is fine. I think he actually just didn't really get the memo, but also Alienmation's being kind of full of shit in the end is it's common leftist L kind of, right? I feel like if she just left it alone, it would have been fine, and maybe he would have been more open to seeing that she was actually they kind of agreed on a lot of things and stuff also, but they didn't, and that didn't end up going so well. Now, did it? Yeah. You probably shouldn't do that. As just a little advice.
Noah, the lover of context and the hater of lies by omission, seemed to forget to inform people of the part where I very emphatically said in my video, hey, don't harass this person. And, of course, his title had the intended effect of making people believe I did something that I did not do.
The title is Think Before You Dox, right?
Right.
And I read that title, and that's why I watched the video. I was like, damn, that's juicy. What the fuck? think before you sleep dox this woman.
That was my
And-
understanding from the title. Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
immediate conclusion. That's not what happened at all.
So many similarities here. It seems like Noah has a really bad habit of accusing his enemies of supporting things they are openly in opposition to. Now, Ethan Klein isn't the only one suing Noah. In a really unfortunately cropped tweet, Mudahar has announced that he will also be suing Noah.
Yeah, like this isn't gonna go well for Noah Samson, right? You know, it's funny, right? We make fun of like In Praise of Shadows as a discount Noah Samson, right? Noah Samson from ShopRite, Aldi Noah Samson and stuff. But honestly, the thing is, I'd honestly say he's less shitty. Because at least like he's saying truth, like somewhat true things, or like the false claims are like kind of harmless, you know, accusations. Like, yeah, the Boogaloo Boys, let's face it, most people wouldn't even care if that was true. It's false, but like most people wouldn't care if that was true. But when it comes to like what is it? Like what's the thing with the like the things that are like true, right? When it comes to like, Wendigoon is conservative. Like, yeah, that is true. Brandon Herrera is a gun YouTuber who, makes fun of left-wing people sometimes, and is very much like kind of edgy and offensive. I mean, yeah, that's why people watch him, but it's true, right? He's not losing any watchers because of that. Everyone already knows that. That's why he's enjoyed in the first place. You didn't really give him an L by telling people the reason why they watch him. But you know, it is a true fact, right? And like, yes, there is a guy that makes fun of pedophiles, a donut operator, right? And he makes fun of people who are child molesters, and doesn't care that they get shot and killed. Yes, absolutely. These are all true things that are not damaging their reputation, and in fact, probably the reason why they have one to begin with. So he is correct on those assumptions. And the Boogaloo Boys thing, right, like most people just don't care, like regardless. It was false, but like you need to do damage to be defamatory, basically, right? But this is very damaging, right? Now, it's not super damaging in that they will all recover, and Noah Samson will be the ultimate loser here. But that's just what happens when you say someone supports the deaths of millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people, purely because they say they aren't as critical of someone's military as you are. As it turns out, right, people who disagree with Trump only on certain things with tariffs didn't vote for things to get this bad. In fact, I voted, I'll be honest, for the economy to improve first and then the tariffs. I'm fine with the tariffs. I just want the economy I want people to be able to afford things so that we can, a good way to say it, smart shopping as an American should never be like a forced thing. It should be an option, right? You should always have some wiggle room and not have to squander every fucking cent. Right? This is America. Even our homeless people are technically rich, according to the metrics. But they aren't, in practice anymore, right? Metrically, they should still be, but they aren't because of just how things are fucked up right now. Right, and I said that it's sort of like McDonald's charging $15 for a combo, while Five Guys, which is always the gourmet fast food restaurant, right, as in high priced good food but very high priced, is $13 a combo. Right now, the drink is smaller, but you get more fries, and the burger is basically the same size as a quarter pounder. And it has a lot more on it, and it is way better, way healthier, way tastier, everything. So you get much better fries, a much better burger, and the drink's smaller, but you usually sit down in Five Guys, so you can refill it a couple of times. Whereas McDonald's, a lot of people actually these days just use the drive-thru. So yeah, Five Guys is having a sweep right now. Because of that. And it's like Little Caesars is doing well too. It's because they respect their customers. Yeah, like they're like, hey, people don't shop at me because they want the best pizza. They shop at me because this is the pizza they can afford. So doubling or tripling or quadrupling our prices like everyone else, I'm gonna lose money if I do that. Now, I do have to increase my prices a little bit, so 50% increase, right? So we increase them by about half of what they were before. So instead of $5, now they're $7.50. That's a big increase, but it's a survivable one. And because he, has customers that he relies on for income, because he's not publicly traded, that means he's giving the customer the better deal, right? It's the reason why, like, Avowed and all these other woke games, right, give customers a pretty shitty deal, right? If you've noticed, there's a plenty of woke indie games, right, when it comes to, like, the political, like, leanings of left-leaning politics or whatever, that are fine as deals for the customer, right? And same with AA games for the most part. But as soon as you get into Western AAA, and sometimes Eastern AAA, but mostly Western AAA, some Capcom games have been pretty on the nose with it recently, right? With like Resident Evil 4's DLC is pretty bad when it comes to like the fucking golden ticket shit. Now, and like, Dragon's Dogma 2 is like another big example, right? But compare that, right? Like it's bad, right? I'm saying that's bad, as in like it gets worse on Western side, but that's like where I say it's bad. Like that's where I draw the line. Is like where Capcom is with Resident Evil 4 Remake is like my tipping point, right? So that's as far as I will support anyone at all, right? It's like this is like towing the line with Capcom recently, okay? So then you get like Avowed, right? So they basically $120 for the game. And the game's okay, especially if like you enjoy magic combat, right? Like I've said that before, right? I have positive things to say about the game. But you have to spend like several hours to get to that good part. And now you want to know what another game that's like that, Hollow Knight. But here's the thing with Hollow Knight, right? Hollow Knight is $15. So I can like feel like, okay, if this takes me a couple hours to get to the good part, I'm fine with that because the game's already kind of fun already, really from the bat. It gets better as you go on, right? The entire game is decent, but like it gets really good after a couple hours, right? So like like knowing that in just like 2 or 3 hours this game is god tier, it's very easy to support that, especially with the price tag of $15. Like, it's $15. I can afford that, right? But with $120, right? Or I have to say it with my emphasis, $120, right? That's bad. That is way too expensive. And this is like the thing with like a lot of these woke companies. They will say, oh, we support trans rights. Now give us 10 times what you would pay for this other game that supports trans rights, but is also good and, just made with heart, while we made it just like it is just like an afterthought. We just farted together. You got pronouns in the game. Is that enough? And then you look at like Cult of Lamb or Hollow Knight, and it's like, but this is like actually good. and like has more like actual writing towards it. But all right. And that's sort of like the thing, right? Like which would I rather pick, right? The game actually good, or the game is just dog shit, right? And even with indie games, you get for like Freedom Planet 2 was kind of It's not as bad. Like people give it a little more hate, I think, than it actually is warranted. Mainly, I think like most of the hate for that is actually just transphobia. But then you look at like Avowed or like Starfield. I don't think any of that really has to be transphobic. There might be some, but I also just think the game is dog shit, right? Like same with like Dragon Age Failure. Sure, some transphobic people are hating it, but also a lot of trans people are hating it. Imagine that, right? It's almost as if the game is just dog shit, and people from various different backgrounds all agree that it's dog shit. They just might not agree on why, but they all agree that it's bad. And that's a thing about wokeness, right? When people really criticize it in the media, they really mean fake virtue signaling, right? Because that's bad. It's fake as fuck. It's like, oh, we pandered to you, so you should accept the shitty product. And like, no.
The tweet says, in the last couple weeks, a YouTuber, Noah Sampson, has uploaded a few videos labeling me as a genocide supporter. Normally, I would not engage with this discourse, but this has affected my business and has bled into my personal life. Mudahar goes on to say that he is a Muslim, doesn't like what the Israeli Defense Force has done, and will be suing Noah for defamation.
Yeah.
Now, to further emphasize Mudahar's stance on the whole Israel-Palestine...
And he should.
Let's watch this clip that I found. Well, I found it on Noah's list of source citations from his video.
I think that there is an actual case of, genocide, and there's an actual case of attack that goes towards the Palestinian people. I think there's very serious situations that go around the world. If you've ever grown up Muslim, and I have, then you know that there is a serious culture of anti-Semitism, in amongst the most conservative of Muslim circles. Just as you will know that there is a serious amount of Islamophobia in the most right-wing of Jewish circles. These are two groups of people that literally are just fighting each other. And when it comes to people dying in a conflict zone like Gaza right now, there is literally nothing that I feel other than sadness for men, women, and children needlessly dying for no reason.
Again, this was listed as one of Noah's sources, so he saw this, which makes Mudahar at least the third person that Noah has accused of supporting things they are openly opposed to.
Mudahar, who I've spoken with about this, I especially feel bad for because he is a practicing Muslim and he's part of a Muslim community, and he's accusing Mudahar of being pro-genocide for, basically saying he disagrees with Hassan promoting terrorist groups. These fucking white savior losers, man. It's like he's weaponizing his own religion against him, saying he's like a bad Muslim. That's the insinuation.
So basically, again, if you don't like Hassan and point out the double standards on Twitch...
Yeah, this is like the dumbest part, right? So he's a bad Muslim because... not because of anything about his practices of the faith, which would maybe you could actually argue some of the stuff I've seen on him. Maybe there you could argue that, but the idea of it being anything more than his anime tastes, is pretty retarded, right? And honestly, that's just I think he is ex-Muslim, so that doesn't really count. But my point really. Of that, right? You could argue he's a bad Muslim on things like that, the fact that he has done some cooming, and it's pretty obvious. Yeah, sure. But doing cooming stuff versus supporting a genocide, those are two incredibly big and also completely different lines, right? And of course, the first line, you can make that connection. The second line, no, he just doesn't do that. I'm just being honest there. He just doesn't do that. You know, like that's just how it is. It's just not a thing he does.
Then you like it when innocent people die. Nice, Noah. You really stood up for your cash cow Hassan Piker. I'm sure he will happily continue boosting your views.
Hassan spent 2 hours watching this one. He spent 2 hours watching the first one on his stream in its entirety, glazing him up.
And again, let me further emphasize that outside of being an editor for Cody Co., Noah Sampson was literally a nobody on YouTube before Hassan Piker started reacting to all of his content and sending him followers. This is why he's glazing Hassan so hard here in this drama, and probably why he also joined the Israel-Palestine meta like all the other Hassan groupies.
I think Hassan likes that this conflict's going on. His views were starting to dwindle until this whole October 7th situation happened, and then his views...
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Also, hey, Papa Good. I watched a few of his streams. Has he done more Kingdom Hearts though? He stopped like right towards the end of Chain of Memories. Has he actually played the good one yet? Because it gets good like right after that. Like the next game, whichever one he picks, right, will be either 2 or Birth by Sleep, and both of them are good. Like the good ones. Like it's not like the first 2 are bad. It's just like compared, right? Like the good ones are 2 and up, right? So 2 Birth by Sleep, kind of Dream Drop Distance, not really, but like not really not. And 3, like a lot of people were saying 3 is bad. 3 is just the main story is way too easy. The good part is like all pretty much all in limit cut. But yeah, that's where like you get the hard boss fights that actually kick your ass. But feel like you can learn them too, right? Like it's not like they just kick your ass out of nowhere. But you also feel like you earn the victories kind of thing. It's just very hard.
Went back up. If you don't think that he's loving every minute that Israelis or Palestinians
like it's sort of like Dark Souls, which I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 was very, I mean, dodge roll is like the theme of the ability from Kingdom Hearts, right? So like I don't know, I think Kingdom Hearts is where that's from, right? You know, it's literally named after an ability in Kingdom Hearts, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of Dark Souls elements came from the series that named one of its core mechanics.
You're dumb as fuck.
Now, believe it or not, this whole situation between Noah Sampson and Ethan Klein actually gets much worse. Defamation isn't the only problem here, but in order to understand what's going on, I feel like I need to add some context. So let's back it up a bit. That being said, a major tipping point in this YouTube/Twitch Israel-Palestine drama was an infamous panel at TwitchCon 2024 where Denham's, Frogan, and some other people that nobody knows did this like game where they rated content creators from Arab to Love Sabra, which honestly seems like a boring idea for a panel, but apparently there was a hidden dog whistle in there.
Yeah, yeah, like this was pretty bad. And these are the guys, right, who like, so for those who are wondering, right, I said trans women are women, but I use the trans because I always spelled it trans woman like one word, right? And I'm like it's like one of those like prefix adjectives, right? That's how I always spelled it. And apparently I got called a transphobe despite being trans myself for saying that by a bunch of like fucking trolls. And they said it's a dog whistle. Apparently it's a dog whistle to say that I believe that trans women are women. By using the adjective as a prefix instead of a separate word. Like, I have no idea how the fuck, like, people's minds work these days sometimes. But I'm going to be very frank, those were trolls, right? Very obvious that they were trolls. They kept trying to hide it every time I would call them out. And eventually I just put them on a list of, like, I called it Fed Ops, right? Because, like, they were doing gay ops, basically, right? And so, like, every time I see someone do that kind of bullshit and pull those kinds of moves, I call them a Fed Op because, yeah, they are. They're doing gay ops. Because those people are not helping the community at all. They are hurting it and making things worse actively. And they need to be called out. And so having a little list of that is, I think it's good. Right? Now, usually I don't involve myself on blue sky politics because, you know, like I said, one of the things I like about blue sky is that you can just eliminate the politics altogether, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just an echo chamber for left-wing politics. Like, if you wanted to be, sure, you can also get rid of that. Now, like, I think, like, people are mad about that because, like, you will get less, like, likes and stuff if you do that, right? I'm like, why do I care, right? Like, honestly, I think that's really the thing, right? People care too much about engagement on Twitter and Blue Sky and all these sites. If it's not YouTube or I guess another say, if it's not actively making you money, fuck engagement. Engagement is only good if you're making money, right? For me, I prefer people to like my content, or have a conversation about it at least, right? That's why I make it, for my own enjoyment, and to hopefully share that enjoyment with other people, right? I don't make my content as like some sort of like big political cause or anything. I legitimately just make it for fun. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue a bit.
Because Frogan is the two-time Rising Star champ, and because of her massive viewership of 100 concurrent viewers, it only makes sense that Twitch would give her one of the main stages at TwitchCon to do a 45-minute long segment. Her idea that was Twitch approved, an Arab to Jew racial tier list. Top and most desirable tier is Arab. And at the bottom, the worst one is, quote, loves Sabra. Now, why does love Sabra equate to Jews? Sabra is a well-known Israeli company that makes hummus. Oh yeah, and Sabra literally means a Jew that was born in Israel. They pulled me, one of the best-known Jewish creators, and immediately put me in Sabra. Love Sabra, literally in this case, means Jew lover. So you're telling me you understand what a microaggression is, but you can't understand why a Jewish man might be uncomfortable with this. I feel like this is indefensible, blatant, obvious anti-Semitism, and this was greenlit by Twitch to appear on their main stage.
You've got to be kidding me. They're saying Jew lover as a slur in the modern day. Is this To Kill a Mockingbird? Are we back in the 60s? All these anti-racists are calling people the equivalent of N-word lovers as an insult to those who disagree with them.
And again, these are the same people that judged me based on the thumbnail that I used for, like, the Keffels video. So to get
I like, this is the funny thing, like, I thought it was perfectly fine, right? The entire time. Now, apparently everyone's like, what, the guy who's trans, I don't fucking care. Like, he drew everyone like that, not just Keffels. Also, you know, I noticed people are like, she looks like a man in it. Like, she looks like a crackhead. Crackheads don't look pretty at all, okay? Like, the point was she did crack, so he made her look like a crackhead. Crackheads are not going to look feminine because crack is whack, okay? just like legitimately, crack fucks up like how you look a lot, right? Because your health is a very, like, this is, to be fair, like a lot of the right say like looks like a man has man job. I call it Walmart face because that's what it really is. There are plenty of women who look exactly like that. I don't like it, but I know what it is. It's Walmart shopper face. Women and men all over the place have like chinless men and big chin women. But you know where you find them? Walmart. That's where you find all the ugly chicks and all the ugly dudes, right? You just find them, go to Walmart. You'll find plenty of ugly people. It's not really that rare. So like for me, it's like, yeah, but like, why do I care? Like, they're always like that. Was always like that, you know.
To give you a quick idea to understand, putting 2 Jews in the F tier kind of gives you an idea of like where they're at. Arab being at the top.
Also, the most unflattering image of Ethan Klein ever. Like look at that, right? Like, this is clearly a hit piece on him. You're giving Ben Shapiro a better face than Hassan Piker. Hassan has not Hassan Piker. Sorry, Ethan Klein. Hassan Piker is over there. Like Ethan, I don't know why I'm getting the names mixed up, but you're giving Ethan Klein like this Mr. Potato Head ass looking image that was like valid once in his life during a period where he let himself go because of like, you know, COVID, right? Like, this was like right around post-COVID era. He let himself go, like a lot of people did. So you have him became unhealthy and had a lot of health problems. And then Ben Shapiro, you just use an image of like a meme where like he looks very ominous and threatening. So apparently you guys consider Ethan Klein to be a better person than him, but you're using the most unflattering and offensive fucking face from a point in his life that was a low point. But then you're making Ben Shapiro look like a Chad. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, are you trying to say that Ben Shapiro is secretly like Chad? Like a Chad, you know, a base Chad, right? And then only Ethan Klein is really bad? Because, like, that's what this, like, set makes it look like. I'm just saying.
You being at the bottom, okay? This is literally hateful conduct occurring on the platform.
Let this be a lesson that those who are actually racist will do so openly and are proud of it. They don't try to hide it or apologize if they get accused of racism. This has always been the case. So anyway, a number of people know...
Yeah, they are very openly anti-Semitic there.
That Capcom, Samsung, and Chevron were sponsoring this racist panel.
And it's really disgusting, like, how much anti-Semitism is on the rise in, like, these kinds of groups, right? And, like, the thing is, right, I have people who are Jewish that I'm against, but there's a reason why I say evil has a face and you can name it, and not evil has faces and you can name them, right? The reason why I say it is specifically there are a very small amount of people from many different backgrounds, but all with the same outcome, right? Like, so a good way to say it, right? Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Larry Fink and Sam Altman, right? All have very distinct different backgrounds from like where they came from and what they do and like what their general politics are. But like the one thing they have in common is that they're incredibly rich and that they have a lot of money into our political ecosphere that comes from communists. So I don't like the right side of that group or the left side of that group. I want all of them to leave the fucking United States politics sphere out. If they're going to get money from enemy nations, they should be, like unable to donate that money to our politicians. I think that should just be a general like rule. If you get billions of dollars of funding from Russia or China, it doesn't matter who you are. You should not be allowed, right, to do that.
So they did a mass emailing campaign saying, hey, did you know that these people you were sponsoring were openly saying racial slurs right in front of your brand name? After this campaign, Hassan Groupies, Frogan, and Denims got a 30-day ban on Twitch, to which I personally celebrated by getting some hummus at my local store. I mean, they probably...
I do not like hummus, I'm be honest. I fucking hate the taste. I'm just not a bean liker, right? Like, honestly, chickpeas, beans, like, outside of green beans, I just don't like beans, right? So lima beans, baked beans, chickpeas, all of that, I'm just not a good, like, I don't like them, right? I like sweet peas. I like sweet beans, right? So like these, they don't do it for me. But that's fine, right? You know, like, I can just not like something, right? And just eat something else. But other than that, right, like, you know, it's like, yeah, this is like kind of just shitty that they're basically just being anti-Semitic, right? And like, it would be anti-Semitic even if Ben Shapiro was the only person they put in there. Just like in general, because like of the name of the tier and who was put in there, right? So yeah, like it was always bad, but it's even worse when you put on someone who isn't on really like on the side of the conflict you say they are, right? So you could always say it like, you know, Ethan Klein I would put on like the middle tier, really. If we're going to like say it's like based on how you view the conflict, I'd say he's pretty neutral. Pretty like, you know, like a lot of people are pretty neutral, to be honest. So it's like the normie, like, you know, area, right? Like that's what I would use. I would use just the normie term. Right? Normie and like super like my list would be pro Hamas, pro Palestine, neutral, pro pro Israel, and then pro like IDF just carpet bombing like the entirety of Palestine, right? That'd be like my tier list, right? And so like at that point, right, you would have different people on every side, and you could like name like, you know, specific criticisms of like why some people like on either side were good and bad, right? And, you know, the people who were good would most likely be either the second tier or the fourth tier or the third tier, most likely. And then the bad people would be in the first or the last tier. Because those would basically just be two shitty sides of the same coin kind of thing, right? You know? So, yes. You know, like pro-Hamas beheading babies and you know, would be the first tier, and the last tier would be pro-Israel carpet bombing every single one of Palestine to their graves, right? The like 1 in 5, right? Both are bad, but then the middle three, those are good, right? Those are the more reasonable people who have a position that they're defending, and then you know, in the middle is just like I'm not really taking sides, you know, kind of thing. And in a war, yeah, sometimes you don't take sides. Like there is a centrist option here that is like just center, right? It's not like abortion, for example, right? There's not really a center position on that particular issue, right? Because any abortion rights is the left, and so it's either you do the left position to whatever degree, some more reasonable than others, or do you do the right position, which is just all illegal, right? So like, you know, like any rights at all is left. So like there is left, and there's a lot of left-wing positions, and then there's right, where there is one. But then you have like issues like this where there is a center position, right? And this is why, like I say, centrism isn't fence-sitting. Centrism is there actually is a middle ground here. When it comes to per issues, right? Now, in general, though, like it means that you have a bunch of left-leaning and a bunch of right-leaning issues, and you're not really just completely leaning one way or the other. in a way that can just like be factored like realistically and reliably, right?
We only got banned because they lost Twitch money and not for any moral reasons, because both of them have done way worse rule violations, but close enough. I'll take this as a win for justice. But all of this is to point out that the Hassan fan club has many members in it who don't like Jewish people very much, and that includes Noah Samson. Which brings us back to Noah's video. You see, ironically, Noah complained that Ethan was a liar who was lying by omission. Here's a reminder of that.
But it's that last thing that I think does quite a bit of damage, lying by omission.
What's funny is that if you actually watch Noah's video and aren't ideologically possessed, you can pretty easily notice that Noah does basically everything that he accuses Ethan of. This is a repeated tactic that he uses in a lot of his content, and I mean that it is uncanny how much important context that Noah either removes or completely leaves out for the purpose of radicalizing his audience and enraging them against his enemies. For example, a part of Noah's video was about people rightfully complaining that Hassan has violated Twitch rules numerous times by doing things like promoting a terrorist organization, and he's only gotten a one-day ban for it, and only after Twitch started getting bad press. Yet Asmongold has a single moment where he said some bad stuff, and he got a 14-day ban. In his video, Noah talks about this ban and shows a clip of Asmongold saying some messed up things.
Asmongold made some comments that explicitly justified Israel's genocide of Palestinians in Gaza.
I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. They come from an inferior culture. I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
Noah actually shows this moment in both the videos that he's being sued for. And I'll agree that this clip is pretty bad. If you only saw that, you would think that Asmongold is a horrible person. This is the obvious conclusion that anyone would come to if you don't know much else about him, which probably describes most of Noah's audience.
I mean, that is why this is the only time he got canceled, right? People have attempted to cancel him for years, right? This is the only time he actually got canceled, so clearly something about that clip rubbed people the wrong way. But that's got canceled. He's not canceled anymore. But that's like the first time I would say Asmongold actually got canceled. And not just a bunch of losers with 7 followers and 3 likes attempted to and failed. And yeah, the reason why is like, while there is context that makes that less off the cuff, like even Asmongold admits it was a little off the cuff, right? Now, if you noticed, his content is still like the same, kind of, right? It's still edgy, it's still anti-woke and all that, but like he did change a bit of his tune on like, he's not like as like spiteful and stuff like that, right? He's more, I'm going to consider the innocent people in this more often, and that's really all it's been, was that he's basically just adding context of, hey, it's these specific people that are bad and not like everyone here, kind of thing, right? And he did that partially because of the cancellation. And I think that's fine. Like, I think, like, if what you have to do to get uncanceled is just be, like, less shitty in how you word things on issues that, like, actually are important and affecting people's lives, yeah, maybe. I'm be honest, man, maybe. But otherwise, the cancellation didn't really do anything else because, yeah, he didn't really do anything wrong. He said something wrong, and I will say this. It was pretty fucked up what he said, at least in the context that I've always seen it. And even Asmongold seems to admit that, which is why he's doing it less, you know, like, or by less, I mean not at all. Because he only did it once before then. Because that's another thing. Asmongold, this is really like an off the... Asmongold was really not like this before, and he's not like this now. It's weird, huh? Right? Like, it's just a one-time slip of the tongue. Sometimes people just have that, and, like, then it's like, well, yeah, that was pretty fucked up. I should not be doing that. And then it's like, maybe, like, 10 years later, he'll have another one. But, like, you know, if that's, like, what all you have on him, you're not going to go anywhere now, are you? Right? Because that's never going to be his genuine overall position on anything. That's just, hey, I fucked up. I was a little mad here. I actually legitimately just am frustrated with this situation and stuff, kind of thing, right? So that's like how Asmongold has went about it, and I feel like that's pretty genuine. People are like people on both sides have been like, oh, he's not genuine at all. Like, I think he's been pretty genuine. The thing is, what he was genuine about was actual bad stuff and not like stuff the woke side thinks is bad. But like actually these are the bad takes kind of thing, right? It turns out when he has an actual bad take, he corrects it pretty quickly. He also cleaned his room that week. So you look at his house, it's actually clean now. Like, it's not spotless, I'm sure. Like, some of that I don't think is going to come up. It's just how long it's been there in filth. Like the tooth blood and stuff, for example. But he's cleaned it as best as anyone could. So props, definitely. He no longer has maggot-infested brownies in his fridge, for example. Or a stove. That was his stove, right? Yeah, like, so he definitely has gotten better in that regard as well. And also, like, I feel like he's just way healthier since then. So, like, honestly, I hate to say it, but, like, the cancellation didn't really affect him negatively at all. Fun enough, it only was positive for Asmongold because, like, his health improved. And his mental health definitely improved from being able to breathe his air again. So congratulations, guys. You canceled him. And his life got better because of it. He improved his life and his outlook on things. And is a demonstrably better person than he was. And he was already demonstrably better than any of you before he did that. So you just made Asmongold like even more based, and less easy to attack. Even, wow, it's almost as if like you guys just hurt your own side by doing that. But hey, congratulations, Asmongold got a dub. A much needed dub, I will say. He did actually need to clean his fucking house. So, yeah, thank you for that, far left cancel mob. You actually did something with your lives. Just, you didn't accomplish any, like, culture battles, but you did make Asmongold, actually make his life better. So, congrats on that, I guess. That's probably not what you wanted to do, but that is what happened.
There's one problem, though. Asmongold very famously apologized for these statements. Now, since 2 years ago, Noah...
Right, yeah. I was going to guess he admitted that apology, because, yeah. And, yeah, there are people who try to say it's fake, and I kind of proved it's not. Like I said, like, there's a difference between hey, I'm going to continue doing what I normally would do, and hey, I'm going to continue to do the thing that got me canceled, right? Because he didn't get canceled for anti-wokeness. Like, that was not what got him suspended. He got suspended for a pretty shitty take. That was a one-time thing that was basically only caused by the complete lack of empathy in his statement. For, like, people who weren't doing bad things. Because, as it turns out, not everyone in Palestine even agrees with that culture in the first place. So, like, yeah, he kind of just walked a little back on that, saying, yeah, fuck Hamas, but also, yeah, I probably shouldn't blame, like, the people getting their kids, killed by bombs for, especially not the kids being bombed to death in this conflict for, the actions of a military coup that murdered the elected party 20 years ago and has held them all at gunpoint since. I think there's a legitimate reason why Asmongold should have walked it back to that, while still kind of just holding basically the same position, just wording it as this is what I actually fucking mean and how I actually fucking stand for it. Which I agree. You know, like it was a massive dub. So thank you, Noah Sampson, Cancel Mob. You accomplished. Asmongold got a better dub than you will ever have in your entire life from your pathetic attempt to cancel him. But then again, like I said, I don't really think like it was really like. I don't think these guys had any influence on it, really. I legitimately think like what he said was a little off the cuff, but apologies are acceptable in this scenario. It's called "It Happened Once." It's not a pattern of behavior. And he's trying to improve, and he improved his life pretty much immediately. He got the dub there. Just saying.
About his expertise in media literacy, I imagine that Noah didn't show Asmongold's apology so that his audience would believe that Asmon is evil. And to be more
like everyone who says media literacy is like a good way to say it, right? They'll like say, "Hey, why did you think that Starship Troopers wasn't anti-fascist?" Right? Which, to be fair, is true. Like the movie is very anti-fascist, right? But the thing is, it is not really like how it's supposed to be interpreted either, right? So the bugs being the good guys is never like a thing that's said about the movie. The bugs are always the bad guys in every like instance of Starship Troopers or Helldivers, right? The good guys just happen to be the lesser of the two evils, right? So it's like you have an ontological evil versus a group of people who are doing very evil things that no one would do otherwise in order to survive, right? It's the same like Space Marines, right? The Space Marines are kind of shitty people, to be honest, right? But compared to everyone else, they're the least bad guys. So obviously, the least bad guys are like kind of the good guys there, right? So yes, the imperialist theocrats, they're not Nazis in Warhammer. Or like the literal space Nazis for the other ones, right? Are the good guys in these pretty purely because they are. Now they also, another thing, the reason why it's only the movie and not the book. In the book, right, you can just look at the time, right? In the book, the United States military were the good guys, so they are never even remotely hinted through satire as being the bad guys. But in the movie and the games, the military has done some questionable things by then. And so, because we were no longer undeniably the good guys, we add a little satire to kind of criticize them. Because really the book is a criticism, is like a deep dive into the military industrial complex, right? So when the military industrial complex are the good guys, they're just the good guys. When they're the bad guys and doing things that the author of the movie thinks is equivalent to stuff the Nazis would do, he criticizes them by having them do the same things they did in the book, but then dressing like Nazis and kind of like having a few like Nazi-ish takes that are very subtle, in order to say, hey, the U.S. military isn't as good as it used to be, basically, right? And they're fake good people now. Like they're still the good people, but they're not good people, right? They're the good guys, not good guys, right? As in, they're the right side, but if I had a better option, I would pick that one instead, right? Kind of thing, right? So like that's like the other like series, right? So Warhammer, Helldivers, and Starship Troopers, the movies. Basically, they are bad guys, but they're not the bad guys. And the bad guys are only the bad guys because they're way worse than this group of other bad guys who are good by proxy. So yes, the bugs are ontological evils, while the humans are evil, but basically out of the need to be evil to survive. And the reason why that's like in Starship Troopers movie is used to criticize the military, is, you know, and like why they use fascism as a metaphor for that, is to kind of like say, like, because like by the end of the movie, right, they kind of lose a lot of their individualism, right? If you notice, like towards the beginning of the movie, they're all like human individuals, and by the end, they're just cogs in the machine, right? That's the actual criticism, by the way, is that they basically morph and devolve all their humanity away in order to survive. The bugs are never the good guys. It's just in order to win against these worse guys, we had to give up all that made us human, right? That's the actual criticism of these people that Warhammer and Starship Troopers and the movie and Helldivers games have. Because remember, these are about the U.S. military, effectively. Even the book is, but back then the military was just everyone knew they were the good guys because they were fighting the fucking Nazis, right? So, you know, when you look at when the time of these things was happening, you can kind of like, you know, tell and see, yeah, okay. I see, like, they're criticizing the fact that during the Cold War and Vietnam War and stuff, we kind of like went a little too far with like our propaganda against commies, and basically gave up a lot of our freedoms that we cherished in order to defend ourselves from an enemy, basically becoming more and more like them, but not completely. We're still better than them, but we're less better than we were before we did that, kind of thing. That's the actual criticism of the movie. Just so you know, it's not saying that these people are the bad guys. It's saying, look how bad they had to become. Look how much they had to devolve themselves, remove their humanity in order to survive. Basically saying humanity in a case like this, where the enemy is like seen as like this oppressive force to be reckoned with, humanity will devolve itself to ruin everything good about itself in order to fight it, and it might never ever be able to recover that. And now that's actually an amazing criticism. Now imagine if that was just devolved into the bugs are the good guys, you know, kind of bullshit, like a lot of the far left was saying. That would be very dog shit, you know, if that was what was actually being said now, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Yeah, that's what a lot of these guys say, though. So, yeah, you do with that as you will.
Definitely knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He left that apology out on purpose to further radicalize his audience. There's no way that Noah didn't know about that apology, because not only was it a huge event on his part of the internet, but also that video of Mudahar's that he sourced mentioned it. So, because in my opinion, Noah left that apology out intentionally, allow me to play some of it for the people who haven't seen it yet.
A couple of days ago, I made some comments about Palestine and also about Hamas and...
Also, you know, it's like he's already started cleaning his room by this also base plushie collection.
You know, some just general, you know, basically opinions that were trivializing the genocide that's happening there. I said something about it that was disgusting. I said that I didn't care about innocent people getting killed by another force, by anything. And I think that that's a horrible, disgusting, mean-spirited thing to say. Everybody who's come and spoken out and talked to me and said stuff about me, I want to say that I really appreciate you. And I think this has been something that's a long time coming. And I actually think that this is something that not only I deserved, but it's also something that I needed.
Now, is it possible that this clip might make some of Noah's audience feel less negatively towards Asmongold? One would think. I mean, I don't like Krogan, but I'm not such a jackass that I wouldn't at least mention that she apologized, sort of, for saying that U.S. soldiers deserve PTSD. So again, I think Noah leaves this stuff out on purpose. This is not about moral consistency or good faith interaction. This is a game to him, and he's doing this stuff as like a sort of propaganda tactic to win whatever battle he thinks he's in. Or he's being paid to be this bad faith. Though I have to say that Noah has gotten a lot more effective at propaganda and audience manipulation over the past year. Someone's been practicing. I actually had to put effort into counter-arguing this time because he's trickier now. There were a lot of subtleties that I missed on the first watch. Probably the most effective tactic that Noah uses to encourage racism is emotional pulls. In writing, the way that you compel the audience to emotionally care about your characters is to give them a backstory that describes their relationships, their hopes and dreams, and their struggles. Also, if you can accurately align the aspects of your character's backstory with common experiences that your audience has had, they'll get even more emotionally attached to the person that you're talking about.
Yeah, this is why I say, like, Nimona is the best trans movie. Like, Nimona basically is just about, like, abuse and, like, struggle and trauma and all that, right? Like, effectively, it's all about, like, othering, trauma, all sorts of stuff, right? So, imagine that, right? If trans rights are human rights, then a trans allegory would ultimately be a human allegory, right? Because ultimately, not everyone who experiences all of that is trans. And in fact, I'd say most people who experience all of that are not trans. Because as it turns out, you know, if trans people are people, trans rights are human rights, right? So trans experiences should be written as human experiences and not like only trans people would ever experience this kind of thing. Because there is none, right? Outside of gender dysphoria, which, you know, there's still it's basically just a specific way of having depression. It's like it's an identity conflict and depression and at the same time. People have these, right? But like they don't, like, you know, people tend to not have them at the same time because that would make you trans, right? That's what trans is. And then if you have one or the other, it's not necessarily trans. It could just be like, hey, like, you need like a hug or something, right? But that's like the thing, right? So like the way you get people on your side is to just admit the fucking facts of the issue and not like try to say, oh, well, it's transphobic to say that trans people have a mental illness. Well, but a lot of us do. And, you know, it's not helping us to deny that. For some brownie points against Ben Shapiro that I don't really care about, right? I don't care if Ben Shapiro gets brownie points in a debate, right? If, you know, the debate is like, are trans people suffering from mental health issues, right? Now, if it turns out we are, you know, a lot of us are, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe trans is a mental illness. But like the treatment, right? Because the point of mental health treatment is to prevent you from suffering. If the treatment is like, you know, transitioning, then ultimately he loses the argument for like trans rights because, you know, it would be a mental health thing. However, the reason why he continues to win a lot of these arguments is people want to involve kids in this because gender dysphoria you really can't have until after puberty. Just so you know, you cannot get gender dysphoria that is actually gender dysphoria until after puberty, right? It like you can kind of feel it before puberty. You will not actually like know that you have it unironically until after. And the reason why you have to go through puberty first is because that's when those hormones start raging, right? It's sort of like your sexuality, right? Part of it can grow when you're a kid, right? But the vast majority of it, right, the part that is most crucial to your like existence as, hey, I'm gay, or hey, I'm straight, or hey, I'm trans kind of thing, right? identity and sexuality, right? The things that make your pee-pee go hard, right? Basically, a lot of that occurs as a teenager. It can also occur earlier for certain parts, like if fetishes tend to actually occur before puberty because it tends to be like your mind associates pleasure from things like the thing is though, like fetishes, it's like the way you get them, it's like no one can avoid it. Like, so like I'm into vor, right? I in like macros and feet and stuff, right? Now the reason I'm into that is because I saw a bunch of kaiju movies, Power Rangers and stuff like that, and movies where like art where like there's dragon vores a person and stuff, right? Now, I would not be into that, right? If I never saw those movies, probably. Most likely not, right? However, most people who see those movies don't get into vor. They don't get into giants. They don't get into giant step. Like, I mean, the vast majority of people who see that don't associate those things. Now, part of it is I'm autistic, and so, like, that's just another, like, damper in that. But yeah, like, so it's not really grooming to have those in movies, because, like, the things that trigger it, nobody would fucking think of it when they were doing it, right? And, like, grooming has to be intentional. Like, that's another thing. You can't accidentally groom someone, right? It is entirely always objectively on purpose, which is why it's bad, right? Like, you can't unintentionally groom someone, right? So taking your kids to church because you like the church is not grooming, because you're not doing that, intentionally to cause them to fear hell or the devil or whatever, right? You're doing that because you believe it to be true, and you think, like, this is, like, how good people should behave. You want your kids to grow up and learn to be good people, so you go tell them, you go take them there. But, like, that's just how, like, religion kind of grows. Now, some of that is bad, and some of that is good, right? Religion can have good and bad. But, like, grooming would be, like, so grooming, right? Because there is ways to groom someone into, like, a set of religious beliefs, right? And that is through cult tactics, right? So you go, like, to a cult, they kind of have the idea of shunning and stuff, right? So parents take their kids to these churches, right? Because they think, like, it's good, because it's genuinely done them good. They feel it's right, right? People tend to donate to churches, by the way, because of the good it brings their community, right? Because, you go there, you eat good food, you have good songs, you get a sense of warmth and joy, right? It turns out that that can be from many things. It's not necessarily from the religion itself. But because it feels right, that's why you go there, right? And so that's why most people take their kids to religion, because they're like, well, it never did me any wrong, and it did me plenty of good. And that's the thought most people have on religion, right? And that's how most people are always going to feel about religion. And that's honestly fine. I think that's how it should be, to be honest.
Character backstories are how you can be sad at the idea of a person like John Wick dying, but you don't care about the hundreds of nameless people that he kills throughout the movie. You have the details on John Wick, but you never see random Hitman number 87's backstory and how the people in his life might deal with his death. This means that John Wick is humanized, but the random Hitman isn't. He's just a number, and that's done on purpose so the audience won't care about him. On the other side of humanization through backstory, you can also dehumanize a character and make the audience hate them by only showing their bad deeds. That being said, Noah is...
Right, so, like, my thing is, like, the reason why people don't really like to focus on the fact that Hitler, had an art career at one point is because, of what he did in the end, right? But, like, you can humanize Hitler and still admit he's a piece of shit, right? You can say, he kind of had, like, a promising art career, it wasn't, like, the greatest, but it wasn't, like, that bad, But ultimately, it doesn't justify what he did. Most of that, to be fair, was brainwashing by the German military. Believe it or not, Hitler wasn't the only anti-Semitic person on the German military in World War One. In fact, they were probably headed to where they were, regardless of if he led them to it or not. It's kind of the sad reality of, when you really look at his backstory, he pretty much, just as a leader of Nazism, was, the only, thing. But, someone else would have done that instead, and they might have been more competent. Because, it turns out Hitler actually had a lot of bad tactics that ended up costing the war anyway. So that might be a good thing that he was the one. Because there were people who were definitely not, just as bad, but, more, smart and competent and stuff. And I don't know if that would have been good if they were the Führer instead, But that's the thing, right? Hitler, thankfully he was not as smart as he thought. But also fuck Hitler, But that's the thing, right? Also, I find it another case of people leaving stuff out was the quartering with the fuck Hitler thing, right? See, I can call it out no matter who does it, right? The quartering now, he's trying to with the there we have it. Yikes, was him saying all conversations between people will naturally devolve into stuff about Hitler, which is true. On Twitter, it did basically all the time. But this one, the troll is the one who devolved it into Hitler. He's the one who brought it up. So you could have said, there we have it. Yikes, there, or you could have left the full context, right? To say of how innocuous this thing was at first. And then a guy just posted Hitler memes in just 2 tweets, by the way. It was a soundtrack for a movie, talked about King Kong, and then another guy said Hitler's favorite movie, right? So Hitler was already brought up. The point, if Jeremy wanted to say this was the point he was trying to make, he could have just said it with the other guy's tweet. Really, the only reason he did it with this soundtrack guy is he wanted to say that this guy was some woke piece of shit, even though the soundtrack was never the problem with a lot of these movies, and it definitely wasn't with the Doctor Strange 2. That was the movie, by the way. It turns out, the soundtrack can be banging in the movie, right? The movie's soundtrack was great, Sam Raimi has a thing for good soundtracks, to be fair. Sometimes the writing is pretty bad, but he's always had a banging ass soundtrack now, hasn't he, right? So yeah, he did. That was I don't know why it was he needed criticizing of one of the few good people of that movie. The cinematography of Sam Raimi and the soundtrack were always still good as they always were, right? The acting was kind of so-so, but to be fair, Sam Raimi has had that problem plenty of times already. So, hey, it's a Sam Raimi movie that acts like a Sam Raimi movie. But yeah, Corcoran left out that part, and he made himself look retarded too because of it. Because he could have said, well, I meant the whole chain, and my point of there we have it, yikes, was how quickly it can devolve, and this is literally 2 tweets, right? And, if he said that, people would have probably just fucking backed away. Because, yeah, that was pretty fucking weird, right? It literally was 2 tweets, and it made no fucking sense. But for some reason, he didn't do that. And so, that's why, he got clowned on for that. Now with Noah Samsen, he doesn't have an easy just take the L and you'll get away with it kind of thing, like the quartering did. Quartering is just a dumbass there. Noah Samson is clearly like blatantly deceptive and evil here. So yeah.
He's aware of this aspect of human psychology, which is why he spends what feels like most of the 2 videos on Ethan Klein telling stories about the hardships that the Palestinians have faced, and he even says that some of them are his friends. This is to get the audience to care about Palestine on an emotional level, which is fine, he can do that. And it does sound like innocent Palestinians have faced some pretty horrible atrocities, like having family members die, being crippled, or being sexually assaulted. It's always terrible when innocent people are hurt in the crossfire of war, which is why I'm very anti-war and very against the use of violent tactics.
Yeah, that's like my thing too, right? Like, can't we just say, hey, can we just not do this war? That's how I would do it, right? Like, obviously, that's not on the table from either of them right now. Sometimes it's like we're long past the, the talking phase of this. That's kind of how both of them are feeling right now. And that just happens. Sometimes the talking is done, right? We've done the talking. We're not okay with it right now, right? That happens a lot. Sometimes talking's not going to solve it. But I would always appreciate some diplomacy, right? But like these guys are like, nah, fuck diplomacy. We want like war. I'm like, okay, well, fuck you then. But we want this side that clearly can't win to win. I'm like, okay, well, you're retarded and fuck you.
However, remember that Noah's biggest criticism of Ethan Klein is that Ethan was lying by omission by not telling the Palestine side of the war. Well, this war is a two-way street, and both sides have done some pretty awful things. The problem here is that Noah only tells the Palestinian side of the story, while at the same time, this is how he represents the Israelis.
There's a comment I saw on Ethan Klein's video. It read, I feel like a lot of people can't separate Israelis and the Israeli government, and the same with the other side. Like you are allowed to hate on the people who actually kill people and not hate the innocent adults and children that are being killed from both sides. This is a popular framing among liberals and liberal outlets that we should...
It's popular because it is morally true. Yes, that's how you should do just things in general, right? People who are not actively a threat in a conversation should not be treated as one, right? If you're not a threat in the conflict, you're just a citizen. Like they always like, I don't know if he's going to do it. There's like clips of like Israeli women and children who are, and Palestinian women and children who are like kind of like aggressive a bit verbally on both sides of the conflict, right? And you can find clips of both. That's just because they're at war with each other and they're poor and like they're mad because like they are blaming them for like why they're poor and suffering. And part of that is also true. So yes, while they are definitely verbally very aggressive to each other, and that is definitely not helping tensions. That's just what happens in war, baby. That's why war is bad, and you should not ever advocate for it. As it turns out, like this is a good war bad video, basically. Because yeah, war bad is how I would respond with to that.
Separate the Israeli people from the actions of their government. While there are some examples from the past where this may be true, such as the case of the American public's attitudes towards the end of the Vietnam War, which diverged from their government, the same cannot be said in the case of Israel. The vast majority of the Israeli public supports this genocide. Months into the genocide, polling showed that over 95% of Jewish Israelis supported the IDF's actions.
This says 57.5. Not 95. So you're just completely making up your statistics there. Oh, wait, okay. So I never mind. I see where he gets the math. Okay. You're talking about firepower, right? Now, Okay, I get what they're saying. Okay, never mind. I take that back. But like this would mean that they believe that like this, what this is saying, right? Is they believe that they should be more aggressive. This means that they believe like and remember, this is like talking about with Hamas. This is like, notice how it's Hamas, not Palestine here. So they're saying they should be more aggressive. That can also mean they believe they should target Hamas specifically better. So like depending on what their mindset is, this might be like still saying we're doing this wrong. We're going after innocent people when we should be going after the problem directly. So like that, like because of the question specifically talking about the use of force and not, and not like the way it's applied, I don't know how I should interpret this. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt with this poll. But even then, right? That doesn't mean they support, like, they could just be misinformed, for example. That's a big one, right? Or it could be like that they, like, what most people would clearly think is that they're going after Hamas. Hamas are bad people, and they think, yeah, those bad people who are bombing us we should do more to stop the bombs from dropping on our side. Or we're doing a good job bombing them, right? So it turns out, right, there are ways you can take this that don't have any bad spin, and most of them are fairly easy to come up with with very easy, ways to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they could have had one of or many of these emotions. And it turns out, like, because it's a large group of people that were surveyed as well, they could have a whole range of emotions within with all of these groups. So yeah.
With a majority of those indicating that the
all I'm getting at this is that they're pissed off because the conflict is going on for too long.
IDF was not using enough force in Gaza. The force in question there being, genocide. They wanted more. It wasn't enough. This should come as no surprise, given Israel's history. A country that exists on the logic of ethnic supremacy and colonization requires a certain level of dehumanization to keep its inhabitants from collapsing under the weight.
I'm pretty sure that wait, what? Star of David? Where's the Star of David? Like, I'm guessing he's talking about this fucked up shape. It kind of looks like it, but they also got like all kinds of other shit. But like, what would they like? This has to like. This looks like they use sand. They use like a fucking like vehicle to do it, right? They just like towed the sand, right? And like maybe they did that. Like, yeah, sure. Also. I don't know if you know this, Noah, but the Star of David, right, kind of is a Islamic symbol as well, because Islam and Christianity are kind of like descendants of Judaism somewhat, like obviously Christianity more directly, whereas Islam has like a bit of Middle Eastern influences along with it, but that aren't Judaism. It's like Christianity is like direct, and then Islam is like, it's a little bit of Judaism, a little bit of Christianity too, to be fair. They have Jesus and stuff as their Messiah, but like he's not like a Trinity thing with God. He's like its own separate prophet thing, right? Then you have like, okay, so you have, Jesus, Messiah stuff and all that. So you have a Moses, right? And you have like a North Star and all. So you do have a Star of David kind of thing. Now, they also use the crescent moon. I think like that was for I think that's how they found the savior or whatever. Like in their story, Jesus is found through the moon rather than the Star of David. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Like they still have, Star of David in there. It just the moon was used instead, from what I remember. But yeah, it's basically they descend from Judaism anyway, right? You do know that, right? Like Islam isn't even necessarily like the real problem here. It's like the fact that they're killing each other in the first place. Now, I can look at this and not really feel anything about it, but I can also understand why some people would see this as fucked up. But I also see that it looks like it's just like a car that just drove through here, and like this doesn't look like anyone really lives here, so I don't know what to think here. Like an area where nobody lives, someone just drew that in a car. I don't know. Like, are they not allowed to have fun in the car? Like, yeah, you could argue that it's kind of an asshole thing to do, but otherwise, I don't really see the issue here.
Weight of the reality of their rotten society.
Yeah, so those were some harsh words. Someone with 6,000 likes on his comment tries to humanize the innocent on both sides, while rightfully aiming blame at the evil people who are actually causing the war. Yet Noah takes the radical approach and dehumanizes one side by saying, actually, the Israelis are evil and rotten. Noah spends quite a bit of time establishing that basically all, not some, but basically all Jews in Israel are a bunch of murderers. Now, by comparison, Ethan just said there were some terrorist groups that he didn't like, but a lot of innocent people have suffered on both sides, and maybe the Israelis and the Palestinians could figure out a peaceful two-state solution. On the other hand, Noah spends the entire time in both of his videos making the Israelis look like the most evil scumbags in the world. I can only imagine that he's doing this with the intent of making his audience violent. Noah continues his anti-Israel messaging by showing a few interviews of Israeli citizens and their thoughts on Palestinians.
Another way to get a handle on the seemingly ubiquitous genocidal fervor among Israelis is by just talking to them.
How many civilians have been killed in Gaza, from what you know?
Who gives a shit?
Okay, but don't you feel like, for example, children?
Children grow up to be Arabs. I read the numbers last week. My memory died and went to heaven. I don't think children should suffer, but they're always casualties. And since they do a lot of poor food, that is the natural result.
Most of the kids there that are getting killed, I never support little children dying. I never want it. But most of them will grow up not only supporting Hamas, which is a crime by itself, but joining them, which is the worst of the worst.
These people know that they're on camera and that these remarks will be posted on the internet or shared on the mainstream news. This is normal to them. This is normal in their society, which is a testament to the fact that their society is not normal. Simply put, it's a genocidal society, top to bottom.
Now, I can agree that those are some very harsh words. However, people don't just say horrible things like this without a reason. Does Noah try to show why the Israelis are saying these things in an attempt to maybe add some nuance and not do the exact same thing that he accused Ethan Klein of? No, he doesn't. Noah never asked why Jewish people would say this stuff. Well, as someone who did basic research on this, maybe it has something to do with Hamas massacring people on October 7th. Like Noah, it turns out that I also happen to have a friend who lives in the area, so I thought I'd ask him about the Jewish perspective on why Israelis being interviewed in those clips said what they said. This was his response, and yeah, having missiles fired at you daily probably would make most people mad. My Israeli friend also notes that if there was peace, the negative feelings that the Israelis have towards the Palestinians would go away. And here's the thing. After talking to that friend, I went and watched the video that Noah took those interviews from, and it turns out that these people actually do say why they have such harsh feelings towards Palestinians, and Noah just cut around that. So let's add it back in.
Overall, the world does not really understand what's going on here. They do not understand, grasp the concept that Israel was attacked.
Everything is happening because of a group called Hamas, Most of them, like around 75-ish%, despise Israel with everything that they hate about the world. Like, they hate everything about Israel. They don't want anything to do with us. They want us all dead, gone, and fucking, you know, they want my head on a spike. All they see in their head is just eliminating every single human being that doesn't support, you know, Islam, that's not Islamic, that's not Muslim.
Well, that changes things, doesn't it? Sure, they said some messed up things, but if Hamas wasn't also attacking innocent people, they wouldn't have those beliefs. Oh wait, it looks like Noah does show someone saying why she feels so negatively towards the Palestinians. Except it's in a foreign language, so people have to read subtitles. This means that if they're multitasking while watching his video, which is very common with viewers, they won't see this added nuance. This is why when I make videos, I almost always repeat what the subtitles say if people are speaking in a foreign language. What Noah is doing here is something that I call a plausible deniability clause, where a dishonest creator will add nuance to make it look like they're being fair, but do so in such a way that nobody will notice it. This is so if someone criticizes Noah, he can say, no, I put that in the video, while at the same time, basically none of his audience caught it, so he won't have to risk them being swayed by nuance that isn't good for his point. I actually didn't notice what this person said until my second watch. Also, here's the thing. I'm aware that Noah loves to misrepresent people, and I'm guessing that he didn't expect anyone to actually go fact-check the material that he used, which is reasonable. A lot of creators are lazy. But since I actually watched the full video, I know that Noah basically only showed the most inflammatory things that were said. If you actually watch the video, you can see multiple Israelis sympathizing with the Palestinians. Here's one of them.
Free Palestine from Hamas, and don't hate us Jews, we're really nice people, and we love life.
We want peace. We just want peace, love, and rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
Okay, wait, and you're willing to have peace with Palestinians?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, anytime.
Anytime.
Send
with anybody, anywhere. If they want peace, we want it.
So, no.
Yeah, it's just
who's claiming to be more honest.
Like that's just like how most people are when you like separate. Like another thing, to be fair, like everyone says polls are like just a good way to, like, I don't think it's a good way for either side, right? I'm going to give both sides a benefit of the doubt that most people won't, right? They don't know that the other side is more nuanced than the other, and they just look at polls, just like a lot of other people, including Noah Samson, do. What is most likely to be the actual case here, right, is that they all have a lot of layers of nuance that aren't known because the conflict is having them at each other's throats. You know? A common thing, right, in these kinds of cases. So yeah.
In these mainstream news outlets, why didn't you show this interview? Why did you only show the worst parts of this video? And for the people who did say bad stuff, why don't you cover what made them so radicalized against the Palestinians? Maybe discuss whether their feelings are justified or not based on factual reporting of the event. This is what an honest person who wanted a more peaceful outcome would do. Making no effort to humanize the Israelis or add nuance to their beliefs kind of makes it seem like you don't want a peaceful solution. It kind of makes it seem like you want violence. On top of that, Noah is so shameless in these two videos that he will even try to get his audience to hate young children by showing them saying things against Palestine.
The vile, dehumanizing racism that is required to uphold a project like this.
Because it's Palestine too.
But I'm Palestinian. Does that mean I'm a
Yes.
I'm a Do you want Palestinians in Gaza to die?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Random children on Omegle is considered to be strong enough evidence for Noah to put it in a video.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest. They looked like they were teenagers too, which everyone knows. Teenager to 14 years old is the most evil age group there is, right? That's the puberty generation. Not only are we getting our horny thoughts, our sexuality and all that formed at that point, we're also the worst fucking people on earth at that point. Every single teenager is the fucking devil, right? Like, so, yes, they are going to say whatever they think is the most offensive thing to say in that situation. Because that's how teenagers are. Like, I was one. Trust me, look, I say some fucked up things now. If you looked at what I was saying when I was 12, you would want to fucking have my head on a pike, okay? People kind of already do now because, you know, even though I try to point out, you know, actual bad things with, like, how people are being mistreated when I say slurs these days, I still say them sometimes, right? Like I'll say, like, you know, the lithium mine, you know, I'll call them, you know, niggers, right? Not because I feel like, you know, that they should be dehumanized for being black, but because they were dehumanized. I don't really know if their race had anything to do with why, or just they were an easy, you know, seen as an easy, you know, way to exploit for resources. But yes, they were dehumanized by society, and that was not good. So, you know, I use a word that means to dehumanize a black person, basically. It's a dehumanizing word for a black person, but it, you know, it basically, like, when you say it, you're dehumanizing someone who's black, right? So these are black people who were dehumanized. So I say that we basically treated them as if they were niggers. In other words, to point out the fact that they were dehumanized by the way we treated them, and that was not good. But you know, like, that's how I use racism, right? To basically say, hey, this is fucked up. The way we treat people is garbage, and we should not do that anymore. But people try to say it's a different thing than that these days. That you know, we're not treating people hard enough. According to Noah Samson, we are not treating Israel hard enough, apparently, because some teenage kids are the devil. But like, you were too. Like, just everyone is the devil when they're 12, 13, and 14 years old. That's just how your biology works. It just, like you become the devil for a few years, okay? Yes, and when you're 6 years old, you're a speed demon whenever you get a little drop of sugar. Yes, those are things that happen to everyone. We all know this. Did you? How do you not?
Journalistic integrity, man. Also, Noah left out the part where the children recognized the guy, and it looked like they were purposefully trying to say the most messed up thing possible because they're kids. And also, this guy's kind of a dick to people on his channel. I don't know, he has like multiple pinned videos of little kids that are clearly designed to turn you into a racist, as well as a number of other videos with millions of views on them that feature children under 12 saying things that he knows his audience will hate.
Yeah, so it's like tweenage kids who are acting like tweenage kids. Also, the guy is a racial propagandist. Wow. It's almost as if people are treating a shitty person like shit, and because they're teenagers, they don't care like how they offend him, because teenagers are the devil. Like, just in general, everyone's teenagers are going to be as vile as possible when it's someone like this. Let's just look at how like they'll act. Like, these are the Sneeko fans of the world, right? Like, you got to be 14 or over to enjoy Critical. When you're 12, you enjoy Sneeko, right? That's just the evil like age group of any generation. Okay, like it's not like a thing that's new either. Like, you look back at any time period. Yeah, this is the age where like everyone was the rowdiest.
Parents consent to them being on film? This guy is suspicious. I don't trust him. Anyway, I cannot stress this enough that Noah is 100% suggesting that basically all Israelis are reprehensible. Earlier, he even showed polling data to emphasize that, and he ends his first video by saying this.
October 7th blew the lid off the genocidal Israeli project. October 7th is the reason you're here watching this video today. Israel's response to it has radicalized a generation of people by exposing the Israeli state and its backers in the West for what they are: depraved, ethnic supremacist, genocidal lunatics. That's
I mean, I guess you said ethnic. Okay, I guess, yeah, because technically it wouldn't be racism because they're the same race. They're just different ethnic or otherwise cultural backgrounds. So yeah, like technically you do have to say ethnic there, yeah. But yeah, my buddy, I don't know. I just think you're full of shit. You know, just like, I mean, oh, I don't think I know. You've demonstrated that you have no capability of being anything but full of shit. But yeah.
That's the truth.
Keep in mind that he never goes into detail on the Jewish perspective of October 7th. He just calls them lunatics and moves on.
So he shows some clips of young Israelis basically supporting genocide of Palestinians, right? The argument that you can make for that is that they're so young and yet they support such violent actions. So couldn't you justify killing young Israelis based off of the clips that Noah Samsen has shown? Can't you justify a genocide of Israeli people if they're inherently evil or inherently bad? Like, you basically, what I'm saying is that Noah Samsen, without actually deliberately saying it, he is advocating for Israeli genocide. Like, this is literally what Noah Samsen is doing.
Now, let's get to the reasoning for why I showed you all these clips of Noah dehumanizing the Israelis and also dehumanizing creators like Mudahar and Ethan Klein.
I do find it also fucking sucks at food shops. To be fair, I don't think like she's a bad person. I just think like she kind of like she said some shit that like it's thoughts. Like I said, like I'm like it's just like sometimes it's like, man, like I feel like you know, you need some therapy on that, right?
Numerous videos of innocent Palestinians being harmed while dehumanizing the Israelis as much as possible, he says this.
The liberal framework of thought is only able to conceptualize actors in conflict as being good and bad. Israel's far-right government is bad, Ethan says, but so are terrorists. Genocide is bad. I don't agree with genocide, of course, but hijacking ships is bad too. It's against the law, which is bad. Everybody should just stop doing bad stuff. Okay, well, Israel's not stopping. They're not stopping the genocide. The US is not stopping its arms shipments so that Israel can continue that genocide. That is the material reality. If you actually want that genocide to stop, you need to do something material to try to stop it. And so far in the world, the only people doing that outside of Gaza militarily are Hezbollah and Ansar Allah. If you spend all your time attacking these groups while sitting on the sidelines idealistically opining on what forms of resistance are acceptable to you, then you're supporting the genocide. Full stop.
To be clear, he's saying violence. You need to do something material to stop it means violently attack people. But
yeah, like this is the fucked up part about this, you know?
He won't outright say that because he's afraid of getting a channel strike. Actually, it's worse than that because Noah is saying here that if you don't support violence, then you're pro-genocide. And believe it or not, it gets even more worse than that as Noah goes full mask off in the next clip.
People living in the West have the most power over anyone else in the world to stop the genocide. We are living in the belly of the beast. We have direct geographical, physical access to the politicians, the propagandists, the weapons companies, and the supply chains that are facilitating this genocide. Protesting is great. We should keep doing that. But also, you know, I feel like we have to be honest with ourselves. 17 months in, and what is protesting actually accomplished? Raising awareness, sure. Divestment, yeah, in some places, but really politically, materially, nothing. Israel just killed the most children in its history in a single night with total impunity, with a deafening silence among the Western media. If we want this genocide to stop, it's time to escalate. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, yes.
See, you can lay it out very easily, one sentence at a time. It's quite clear. We in the West have direct physical access to a bunch of people, including the propagandists, after just labeling a bunch of people creators, propagandists. What does protesting achieve? Well, some things, but you know, overall, basically nothing. If we want this to stop, we need to escalate. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry, if you had a clear vision for what needs to be done to stop the genocide, you would say it because you want to direct your audience into something fruitful, unless the thing you want your audience to do is against TOS, violence, etc. He's calling for people to do dirty work for him. That's what this is. It is unambiguously a call for violence, okay? I'm sorry. And he doesn't want to spoil his cute little life. He doesn't want to fuck his income and ruin the little cushy career that he's got a hold of. He doesn't want to do that. He wants other people to fuck up their lives and get thrown in jail or whatever else for it.
Let me repeat what that guy Lonerbox just said.
Yeah, I'll let him speak.
Noah spends his whole video calling people like Ethan Klein genocide-supporting propagandists. Here's some clips of that so we're all on the same page.
The other piece of Zionist propaganda cited by Ethan in his video, aside from this video being a nonsensical genocidal propaganda piece, in the content nuke he doubles down with this sort of propagandizing for the state of Israel. These people feel no shame. They're here to make money and to convince themselves that they aren't evil. And the way they do that is by lying, by spreading liberal Zionist propaganda.
So after he calls these people propagandists with a title and thumbnail that says they support genocide, after he says the correct response to this is violence, he then says, we have direct geographical access to the politicians and the propagandists. Protesting has not worked. It's time to escalate. FBI, hello? Noah Samson just told his followers to go kill creators he doesn't like. It is abundantly clear that Noah just told people to go attack every propagandist in this thumbnail. Now, if you're wondering why we had to watch someone reacting to what Noah said instead of the original video, it's because Noah went into the YouTube editor and deleted that statement after he got called out for very obviously telling his audience to go commit acts of violence.
Okay, so that's what he said.
Damn.
But then it comes after this sentence here, and then that's where, so you try and stop it. People living in the West. Ah, there it is, he stopped it. What an absolute fanny. Well, we saved it at least.
Make no mistake, this was clearly a call to action for violence from Noah. He knows who he's talking to. I'm sure he's very aware that basically all the political violence in America, outside of maybe a single day in 2021, has been caused by the left. Antifa, BLM, people burning Teslas, effectively every violent...
Yeah, I don't know if it's caused entirely by the left or like, 'cause this is like the real like issue with like calling them the left. Like, what left is this, right? Like, what left-wing values are most of these people like spewing? Like, at least with BLM, I can be like, okay, right? With Antifa, the kinda, but like with the the reason why I say it's, I don't feel like it's the left is like, okay, these people are being anti-Semitic and violent, right? And hateful towards a religious minority and stuff, right? And they're using the fact that like there's a war going on as the reason for it, right? Like I don't know about you, but I don't think that's even like remotely left wing. Like I feel like that's really the thing. The left ate itself so much it shat a right wing turd. like it shat out a Nazi. Basically, which to be fair is like how horseshoe theory works, right? When you go far left enough, or far right enough, you become this everything you hate about the left or the right, right? So what it is that there's just more like extremism is easier to get into as the left now than it was on the right. But I do feel like it's not really the left. It's more like it's just extremism in general. And in America, at least, it's very easy to get extremist from a left-wing perspective than a right-wing one. But it is all just like radicalizing extremism. Like you can do that with the right. You just have to really like push it now. You used to have it a lot easier though if you were a far right propagandist. But it's a lot easier to do it with the left now. But yeah, like the views of these extremists are totally counter to what an actual genuine like left-wing person would have, right? But that's like the point of like what people mean, right? Like you are so far gone by pushing your agenda so far left that you basically become everything that as a leftist you should hate, or at least like be against, right? Like sort of like Christian extremists of like Charles Manson kind of guys, right? Or like Steven Anderson, right? They go against basically every principle the Bible stands for, in order to promote the Bible, because they just extremists themselves so far, right? So it's extremism. It's just that right now it's so easy to group extremist people on the left than the right, right? Like that. Like I'm telling, like he's not listening, but like he probably is actually fine. But like my friend, like I was saying, I was telling him to like kind of watch out and like maybe even move out of the area, because like of how like bad the fucking tensions were near his neighborhood. And like I meant that like to be fair, I also had a selfish reason. I kind of wanted someone to talk to and like hang out with and stuff, because no one really is doing that right now around here. But I need to seek it. I don't want to seek it. I want people to do it without effort, and I gotta stop doing that attitude. That's really all it is. I'm just trying to meet people with like mind and on things, and I probably should do that more directly than indirectly. But for some reason, my mind is hyper focused on doing it indirectly like a moron. That's my fault, though. But yeah.
Political act over the past 10 years in America has been caused by the radical left. Now, Noah spends a lot of time pretending that he's this innocent, nice guy who doesn't know things, but he's not stupid. He just pretends to be to get sympathy. In reality, he knows exactly how his audience is going to interpret what he said. And one of the things that Noah does not address from Ethan Klein's video is the part where Hassan got exposed for admitting to trying to rope viewers into extremist beliefs by easing them into it.
Then I saw clips like this where Hassan is explaining how he's hiding his power level to funnel in normies into radicalization.
I think that in the short term, in order to combat against that, you have to advocate for a much lighter form of propaganda. You want America, in the way that I feel about it, and if you want America to get out of the way, or places with more revolutionary potential to do what they would normally do, I think that one thing you have to do is advocate for a lighter form, while simultaneously still doing agitated propaganda that goes beyond social democratic idea.
I just wanted to put emphasis on the exact point of the so-called radicalization funnel, where, for example, Hassan and JT catch them while they're young, as they say, and then they start looking into this new idea.
Yeah, it's just
move forwards through the funnel, get more and more informed, get more and more radicalized. You do your part in the funnel for the cause, or whatever the fuck you wanna call it. You're doing, in my modest opinion, a great thing for the cause.
I feel like it's weird though that people always say that the right is more extreme, but then it is harder for the right to extremist, right? Like there are extremists that are right wing, but it's hard to find a big group of them, right? Like they're all discombobulated, whereas the left is hyper organized. The right is just we got a couple people here. I think that's really the thing. The left has made it a job to be propaganda and all that, whereas the right is we just let people do what they want, and sometimes they fall down a bunch of rabbit holes that they shouldn't be falling down. So that's the thing, right? Everyone's I think another thing, those Western Kabuki guys are Grums is pulling people further to the right. I'm no. No, he's not. I'm gonna be honest, no one even fucking gives a shit about Grums, right? Grums thinks people give a shit about him because his immediate group does. No one gives a flying fuck about that guy. You'll ask a normie, but that isn't Asmongold, their thoughts on Grums. They're either who or oh hey, that's the guy that did that Firefall bus disaster 10 years ago. How's he doing? And that's what most people know about the guy, right? Very few people have any positive like memories of the dude. Okay, like he's not a big right wing guy. Like Asmongold isn't really right wing either, but like he's big at least, and he's an influence on like anti-SJW politics at least. I don't really think right wing, but anti-SJW to be fair. Now, like a lot of people have said, that is the right. Like on both sides, they try to say that's the right. It's not. Like it's sort of like back in the day, it was always like just normal, right? Like back in the day, it was normies were anti-SJWs in 2016, and it remains that way today, right? It's just the normie position. There are people who take it a little further than it should be, but the normie position has always been like, hey, I want to play fucking good games. These aren't good games. Stop fucking shoving these down my face. And let me play good games again. And then they do, and then they get less radicalized again, and then they're more supportive. And then sometimes they get a little like too niched in because they're like, well, the games are good now, so I'll listen to you guys again. And sometimes they listen to like these like Noah Samson types, and that gets them down a rabbit hole that they shouldn't go down, right? And it's bad.
Last time I did a video on Noah, I said I couldn't tell if he was just dumb or had malicious intent. Now it's very clear that Noah and Hassan both had malicious intent this whole time.
Stand on your shit, bro. You want someone to kill me. Okay, stand on it, bro. Why erase it now, fuck? I mean, this guy's legitimately should be on an FBI terrorist watch list. Like, legitimately.
We are living in the belly of the beast. We have direct geographical, physical access to the politicians, the propagandists.
He's saying kill the politicians. I mean, there's no way to even... He can't pretend that that's not what he's saying. He's saying we need to escalate. We know where they are. What does that mean?
This whole thing confuses me. Isn't this the same asshat who spent like an hour and a half last year lecturing me about audience responsibility? Because people wrote...
Well, yeah, like, I mean, Noah Samson being full of shit, like, leftists being full of shit. I get, like, like, I know it's like, I'm just kind of jostling your balls a bit, but, like, you should kind of just expect them to be full of shit by now.
Wrote mean comments that you can block on his friend's video? Like, what the fuck? This is the same guy, Noah Samson, right? Blockable mean comments are bad, but political violence, well, that's just fine.
On December 21st of last year, the Storytime animation YouTuber Illymation released a video called Perks of Being the Fat Kid. 2 months later, the anti-woke YouTube channel Think Before You Sleep responded to Illy's video in the video titled Fat Acceptance Cartoon. Right after Sean posted this response, the comment section on Illy's video went through some changes. It was flooded with hate comments, threats, insults, inflammatory accusations.
Yeah, some of these I think are like really bad. Yeah, absolutely.
Also a lot of anti-Semitism.
So now anti-Semitism is bad, but now it's good again. I don't really get you there.
So that's kind of weird.
That last one was wild. Imagine Noah Samson calling you an anti-Semite less than a year ago because of some shit a random commenter wrote after like 50 different YouTubers reacted to a drama that you were involved in. This is the same guy, the guy who just made 2 videos calling Israeli Jews a bunch of rotten murderers, called me an anti-Semite because of words other people wrote. I'm not kidding, less than 12 months ago, Noah Samson was literally saying that creators have a responsibility to make their audience...
Yeah, this is why I say, is this really the left, or is it like a bunch of rabbit holes due to how easy it is to fall into extremism? And like I said, it's easier on the left than it is the right. It used to be the other way like 30 years ago. Like when I was born, I don't know, maybe I actually did curse the world, and my birth made the extremist rabbit holes flip-flop. But it was the right like around when I was born, and now it's the left, definitely. Like absolutely it is the left. Maybe it was like pre-internet, like pre like the internet being big, right? Is what like caused a shift, right? So when the media was mainly legacy media, it was easier for the right. And then now it's like easier for the left. I don't know. This is how it looks like to me.
Play nice. And now he's essentially telling people to go burn shit down and assault YouTubers that he doesn't like. Actually, speaking of Ethan Klein, to add a little bit more context that I'm sure that Noah was aware of, a bunch of people who I'm guessing were radicalized by Hassan or his groupies called the CPS to try and get Ethan Klein's children taken away.
I knew this content nuke was going to draw a lot of negative attention, seeing how extreme Hassan and his fan base are, and his orbiters. But the lengths to which they've gone to harass us and get revenge for going after their god king Hassan has frankly gone beyond any type of point of civility and humanity, to the point where they're calling CPS, Child Protective Services, to come to our house and break up our family. On Friday morning, an agent showed up to our house saying that they had received an anonymous tip that our children were crawling around in dog shit, eating dog shit, and contracting disease.
What the fuck?
Not only have they called CPS on us, now they're starting to try to call in a 5150 to get me committed. All these people, incidentally, who are promoting this type of insanity are, in fact, childless, and will likely remain that way.
So Noah Samson
They should remain that way now.
shameless that the
Holy
Goldberg guy's
shit.
children merely because he criticizes Hassan Piker. And Noah will tell those people in his video to go out and do more things like that. Like I said, this is evil. He will attempt to aid
Yeah, no, this is just-
being alienated from their parents because someone on the internet.
This is like, okay, you're like, he's saying it's evil. I like we're talking about genocide. This is genocidal. What the fuck? Like Noah Samson, like, literally, like, went, like, so far left, he came out the other side like it's Pac-Man, and started becoming, like, the second coming of Hitler and Dracula. Like, there is something very fucking wrong with this guy's head.
Doesn't like a friend of his. How are you the good guy here? Now, for those of you who
You think Vladimir Putin is bad? Look at Vladimir Dracula. That guy is very fucked up. It's like, yeah, I'm the king of Wallachia. I'm going to make it so your insides, like, I'm gonna torture you so bad while killing you at the same time. I'm gonna stick your ass on a peg so you die in 2 whole fucking weeks. And it took me a long time to perfect it, so it took 2 weeks instead of like 2 minutes like it used to. So yeah, like, I made this the most painful and disgusting death you could ever imagine. And you will all suffer it, because this is my life's work. And I mean, like, legitimately, he made his life's fucking work to have the slowest and most vile and putrid and painful death to every one of his enemies possible. Now, there were some good reasons why he did it. Like, as it turns out, people who have that much hatred in their heart back in the day had a reason. Like, back in the day, villains were more Shigaraki than they were Mahito, right? Like, the thing is, Noah Samson is more Mahito, right? Like, he just randomly goes on forums and gets, like, bad information. Like, the thing about Vladimir Dracula is you could at least, like, kind of sympathize with how bad the Ottomans were kicking his people's asses and stuff. That, like, even if, the way he went to solve it was way beyond the pale, right? You could sympathize at least with the fact that there was a reason he had to respond that way. But Noah Samson never had anything like that in his life. He never had that hardship. Honestly, Hitler had it a little hard at first, right? So, like, even the genocidal dictators that I'm comparing him to at least had somewhat of a reason. Like, they had hard lives that radicalized them, not, like, just going online while being a fucking degenerate, armchair socialist. So yeah, I don't know. These guys are worse than those two, and those two were very fucking bad. I mean, You know, like you tend to look at most evil people in history. They tend to be number 1 and 2 on the list, and depending on who you ask, one is on top of the other, but they're both number 1 and 2 pretty much all the time. So yeah.
Beginners to Noah Samson, this is not the first time he's expressed violent tendencies. For those of you who don't know, Noah got into his first big drama with Vosh for defending a person named Professor Flowers who believed in violently attacking white people for things their ancestors did.
I'm not saying that people should just commit genocide. I'm saying there's so many different responses to colonization.
You
and people
said they would have the right
to
to
determine
remove
what
them.
to do.
You said they would have the right to remove them.
Okay, now this guy, this guy really has to, so a good way to say it, right? To get me to defend Vosh, you have to be insanely fucked up, okay? So, he's signing up with this bitch's side, who is against Vosh's side. To get me to agree and defend Vosh's position on something, you have to be so insane that you make him sound sane. Like, you know how bad you have to be that I am defending Vosh? I fucking hate his guts, okay? I have legitimately never liked him, right? Even when I was, kind of watching leftists, it was, Xander Hall, a little tiny bit of Keffels, not really that much, and primarily, I still watch him, but primarily West Side Tyler, right? Those were the 3 leftists I would watch primarily. I still usually watch West Side Tyler, but that's about it, right? And it turns out fucking with kids and pretending to love trans people until it comes to you have to pay them for the work they did. I mean, obviously Keffels is worse on that end of the spectrum. Being a actual pedophile is always going to be worse, but he's I'm Xander Hall. I love trans people. Wait, you want money for the job you did? Fuck you. Fuck trans people. I'm transphobic now. What the fuck is wrong with that piece of shit?
But I think the people who are colonized should have the self-determination to decide what to do about the people who have colonized them.
Okay, what you're saying is that any state that can just...
But, that's, his fear. Even when I watched his fear, I didn't really like him, but, his fear is, those guys, right? So, they're better than this fear, right? So, think of it that way, right? I don't like this guy. But this fear is even worse. And it gets worse than them, too. The Hassan and Noah Samson sphere is sadly, nowhere near how bad it gets. If you look at Kiwi Farms, you can see a lot of just how deep the rabbit hole can go. Right? Now, there are right-wing people, right? Jason Effects and Hypnotist Sappho are, good examples of... Hey, sometimes it's the right that fucks up and goes beyond insane. But notice how those are individuals that I can name and have a face to. Whereas with the left, it's ideology and stuff, not person. That's very fucked up. I should never be able to vilify you for a group ever, right? I don't do that on purpose. That's just how bad the discussion has gone.
Sense of persecution, therefore has a right to engage in genocide against ethnic minorities within their borders. Every tyrannical regime does this. No tyrannical regime in history has ever said, yep, we're on top, we're the bad guys, we're just killing for fun. They always construct a narrative of persecution, and whether that narrative is correct or not really doesn't make much of a difference.
In case you didn't catch this earlier in the video, note that Noah called Jews colonizers, so I'm assuming that in his eyes, everything Professor Flowers said about white people also applies to Jews. Now, let me just say that the gaslighting from Professor Flowers was so rampant in this debate that it was genuinely difficult to cut a short clip that accurately describes her beliefs. But if you watch the full debate, it is very clear that Professor Flowers believes that if you were a white descendant in any country that was conquered by white people, as far back as hundreds of years ago, then the non-white conquered population has every right to steal property from innocent whites, forcefully relocate them, and go as far as to kill them if they refuse to leave their homes. I repeat, she openly said that you should be able to do this to innocent people who took no part in the atrocities of the past that took place as far back as hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, like here's my thing. If you guys want to go after the CIA for MK Ultra, or like some racist piece of shit who's like, you know, harassing you in a fucking like, you know, like, to be fair, I think like there we go, the Twisted Tea guy, right? Remember that guy where he's like, you know, Twisted Tea, it defeated racism. I used to joke about that, right? And obviously, like, the joke was that, like, hey, it was a racist piece of shit who got knocked the fuck out with a can of Twisted Tea. And he was being very aggressive in the store. Not, like, physically, but verbally, in enough where, hey, you might not be legally justified to do that, but, hey, I'm not gonna fucking say no, right? And that's sort of the thing. If you're enough of an asshole, I legitimately don't care if you get away with something like that. It's sort of like the same thing with like Luigi Mangione. But notice, you have to like fuck up a lot of people or like be like incredibly disgusting in the way you behave for me to ever like side on like with you on something like that, right? Oh, I just died from the cold because I didn't have my torch up. Fuck. Oh well. Yep. Apologies. But yeah, it's just beyond fucked up, to be honest. And yeah, these guys support that, you know, so yay.
This was all done with very passive language and, oh, I'm not saying I would use violence if it was me, but when she was pushed on it, make no mistake that Professor Flowers had some incredibly extreme, violent beliefs. The point is that a drama that involved Noah Samsen defending Professor Flowers and her incredibly radical ideology is what initially he was known for before Hassan boosted his channel by reacting to all of his videos. Promoting violent narratives is not new for Noah Samsen, and these people are so radical that they make Vosh look like a moderate by comparison. Noah has also made multiple public threats to people. Here's him liking a tweet saying Vosh should be killed. Here's him outright defaming Chud Logic and saying he should also be killed. Here's Noah saying Alex Jones should be killed. And finally, the thing that got him banned from Twitter, a death threat to Elon Musk. Which is weird because just last week, an ex-girlfriend of his went onto the H3 podcast to accuse him of owning a Tesla.
Did you ever see him drinking Coke or playing the Disney games, perhaps?
You know, I can't recall that, but I do know that he drives a Tesla. So that.
Oh, that's scandalous.
Noah isn't the only violent one. Hassan is right up there with him, saying that his political opponents should be re-educated.
If you're in a socialist country with multiple parties, and one of the parties is a capitalist party, which would surely exist.
Yeah.
What would you do if that party started gaining momentum?
The solution to that would always be education and offering more
re-education?
Re-education, certainly, yeah. There should be an enforcement mechanism, and in that enforcement mechanism, I think like rehabilitation, which would include re-education as well.
Tell me, how exactly would these people be re-educated? I mean, Hassan says no camps in the full context, but remember he's hiding his power level. And in the same way that I don't understand how Professor Flowers intends to steal property and relocate innocent whites without using force, I don't understand how you would re-educate a devout capitalist into your socialist paradise without the use of force. So personally, I think he's intentionally softening the language here to make people more accepting of something that would be ultimately very cruel if it was actually carried out. Hassan
absolutely.
To murder a senator named Rick Scott. I believe that's what got him the 24-hour ban. Very peaceful of him. Oh, and also, since Ethan so kindly put this super clip together, here's a bunch of moments where Hassan's fan club is also saying violent shit.
Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist blood.
And this isn't just a Hassan problem. It underscores a disturbing trend among leftists on Twitch. The problem is, if you can believe it, these people are frequently making death threats and facing zero consequence. I know it sounds far-fetched, but I assure you it's very real.
Listen, I'll up the number, okay? 30K to anyone.
Yeah, to be fair, I At first, I didn't think this was what that was, right? I thought she was just a fucking dumbass fucking thought, which, you know, like, it was like, this guy's boring me, get him away. Because, like, the way she worded it and what the clips I saw, it looked like she was saying, hey, 30 grand to get Mark Kern to not appear on my streams anymore because he bores the fuck out of me. Also make Eve's tits bigger, right? Like, so that's like what got clipped, right? So I don't know, maybe Mark Kern's just a retarded clipper, but that did make that made it seem like she was tee-hee joking, hey, this guy sucks and he's boring. You know, can we have the algorithm make it so boring people don't get it pushed in my feed anymore? Kind of thing. Which, you know, sure. But, like, I don't know if that's actually what she meant anymore. This is, like, my interpretation of what she said at first, so keep in mind.
Will make this dipshit disappear?
Bro, that Destiny guy needs to get Not gonna fucking lie.
It would just be so easy to solve all of our problems. Like, we would have socialism now at this point, right? We would have socialism at this point if someone just went out of their way and it would be so easy.
Thing that happens, I mean, like, holy shit, guys. If you live in Florida, I have an opportunity for you. If you want to earn $100,000, let me know.
Actually, Mike from PA, the dude that's stuck in the before image of a transformation story, did receive a 3-day ban.
This man put a bounty on a fellow streamer's head. This man should not be getting a 3-day suspension. He should be getting a knock on his door from the FBI.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, right? Like, you know, like, the other thing is, like, with the denim thing, to be fair, you know, it might actually be she was just joking and is just a retarded bitch. The other guy wasn't joking, right? Like, a good way to say it, right? Denims was, like, tee-heeing it up the whole time, so maybe she probably just was joking. I'm, like, thinking about it. Like, she is a dumbass bitch, right? However, that was, like, with the Mark Kern shit. We're not talking about, like, the Israel shit, because, like, clearly she's less jokey there. But then we have, you know, like I said, like, Hassan is full of shit and will, like, he says certain things and then, like, he doesn't live them in real life, right? He tends to be more down on earth in real life, but that's probably because, like, his internet personality isn't him. But, like, a lot of the people in his orbit are radical, right? See, Hassan is full of shit. And he doesn't really believe a word he says, right? And this is, like, if you meet him in person, you can kind of tell. But he radicalizes a lot of people, and they believe devoutly what he says. So, like, he's still pretty dangerous, just individually. If he had no audience, I don't think he would be. But, like, these other people are dangerous regardless, kind of thing. Like, that's just how bad it is.
Back to Noah, one last point. I actually knew about this during the Alienation drama last year, but I withheld it because there wasn't enough evidence to connect them together. But it's really funny that Noah made this whole big deal about doxing last year, when he seems to be like YouTuber best friends with Bad Empanada, who is someone who was well known for doxing before the Alienation drama.
For a more thorough breakdown of all of this video's problems.
Yeah, he also, this asshole, right, harassed me for defending Metatron on, like, a video where Metatron's response was basically just, hey, we should not, you know, we should not, you know, we should not, like, take things out of context and stuff, right? That's basically, like, Metatron's entire video, right? Now, I kind of said, Metatron, he's not going to listen to you. This guy's a piece of shit. You know, you can tell because he sexually identifies as an impossibly bad empanada, which, you know, the point, you know, of that. I like empanadas, right? That's like my part of the joke. But yeah, this guy identifies as a bad empanada, which is a physically impossible thing to exist, right? By the way, So, you know, because of that, I use that like to jokingly say he's obviously full of shit and just a troll, and you're not ever going to get anything, you know, good from interacting with that piece of crap. And yeah, he tried to harass me over that video. Yeah, so, yeah, fuck this piece of shit. This dude's a massive turd of a human being. Also, again, Ethan does not look like that 3 weeks ago, right? He looked like that in COVID because a lot of people let themselves go in COVID.
I'd recommend the YouTube channel Bad Empanada.
Yes, Noah knows that Bad Empanada doxed someone and threatens his opponents because Noah was.
To be fair, like I also don't like. I also am not really like a fan of sorry, I'm not really like a big fan of like any of that kind of content, right? And like what I mean by that, I'm not really like a huge fan of I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of the red shirt girl bullshit either, like or any of those memes, right? Like even red hairy girl who like just legitimately was a kind of a bitch. I'm not really a fan of, but like yeah, it's like it's been fucking 10 years, guys. We have plenty of new people to make fun of. First off, like we can let go of the stereotype, which is not only not accurate, but like there's worse stereotypes now. We don't need to make someone up anymore, like that was, or like bring someone into the future 10 years later. Like she was, like we already have a bad enough person, you know. Like we can just use Noah Samson right now. We don't and like Bad Empanada. We don't need to use you know, like the memes of old anymore.
Because Noah was supposed to go on a live stream with Bad Empanada a while back after October 7th, but I believe he mysteriously ghosted that Bad Empanada stream after his followers told him how terrible of a person he was.
What about Noah Samson?
Noah said that he can't come on. I'm not sure if he can't come on because he got like yelled at by Vorsh pedophile fans, or because he just actually can't come on. But it's one of those things.
Doxing isn't the worst thing that Bad Empanada has done either. I guess Noah has.
This is another thing, like with people defending Kotaku. Like Kotaku was infamous for this as well, right? Like, did you know that Peter Thiel is a horrendous person? Like he murdered his ex-husband, right? But like, you know, Kotaku also like outed him as a homosexual when he was closeted before that. So it's like, you know, obviously Peter Thiel is worse in that scenario, but like to say Gawker / Kotaku are good guys, no, they're a horrendous pieces of shit that just harass people. Like that's what Kotaku does, right? Like I always bring this up when Total Biscuit was referred to them in like his mailbox, like his little like podcast thing where he answers people's letters. In 2011, right, pre-Gamergate, he heard the name Kotaku, right, and you could audibly hear where he says like, oh, "That's not really good." You could kind of audibly hear it like it was like Vietnam flashbacks in his mind that were going off. So yeah, like Kotaku, like anytime someone says Kotaku used to be good, I'm like, no. IGN used to be good. GameSpot used to be good. Nintendo Power used to exist. Kotaku has always been a harassment like lawsuit waiting to happen. That's all they've ever been. Treating them as anything else is the problem.
Decided that he doesn't care now. You know, the irony of him being friends with and promoting a doxer after he was so against doxing when he made the Alienation video is insane. I don't know, maybe he decided to turn against Alienation because she's Jewish. Wait, that can't be the case. I forgot. Noah is a humanitarian who just wants to help people out. He's just a nice guy who's making this content out of the pure kindness of his heart. The other creators are only doing it because they're evil capitalists who want to monetize the Hassan Dad meta.
For the past few years, there's a big industry that's exploded in popularity and it's based on a simple concept. Hassan, bad. It's kind of like a perpetual cycle of dumb guy slop. It's interesting to see YouTubers that typically cover TikTok drama and gaming content randomly giving their opinions on genocide and geopolitics, but that's the result of such an ecosystem. It's not about the politics, it's about making money.
Is he joking? Noah started out by reacting to TikTok videos. He doesn't have a degree in political science, and like 5 seconds before he was a political activist for Palestine, his most viewed videos were Sneeko and Fresh and Fit reactions. What qualifies you to talk about politics more than them, Noah?
Yeah, no, that's also another thing. Like, it's like, hey, I'm trying to moral dog you, but also, did you know that Sneeko and Fresh and Fit are retarded and evil? Like, yes, I did know that. I knew that before you did, most likely. I don't know, like, I don't know when I figured out Fresh and Fit. It might have been after Critical. But Sneeko, from the very first thing I've ever heard about him, like, he's just a literal, like, pedophile shit stirrer. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just absolutely just full of shit, you know?
Watching a few dumbass FD signifier yap videos doesn't make you smart. But Noah is really insistent that other people, not him, do not actually care about this issue. They only care about the money. I mean, look at Ethan Klein. He even put a sponsor on his video, that demon.
Collect big, fat AdSense check. That's how it goes. And Ethan knew it would do well, too, and made sure to get a sponsor for the video.
Thank you to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video.
Which was a VPN company that happens to be owned by an Israeli billionaire with a history of funding and supporting the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a Zionist, though, apparently. Apparently he's not a Zionist, and he's pro-Palestine.
The irony of Noah sponsor shaming is insane.
I don't think he said he's pro-Palestine. I think he said he's anti, like, the war in general, which a lot of people are, you know, as it turns out. Also, like, sponsored by, like this guy is like, oh, I checked the ID of who paid you money. I'm like, okay, look, if Raid Shadow Legends is Chinese, that doesn't mean I support China, and I want I want like Ming Xiaoping to fucking like obliterate the United States just because I get a sponsorship by them. I probably won't ever, but like if I did, that's not what that would mean. That would mean I was like, okay, I think this video is going to be a banger. And, it's not really that out of place. Also, like, hey, look, they do it for everyone else. I would like some of the Raid Shadow Legends cheddar, too. Like, it's never going to happen. But if it did, like, Raid Shadow Legends would be some nice cheddar, to be very honest. But, like, now I get a sponsor, like, BetterHelp. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do that, right? Because at least, like, here's the thing, right? The reason why I wouldn't ever turn down a Raid Shadow Legends or stuff, like, kind of thing, it's a video game, right? You get what's in the advertisement, right? Like, that's ultimately, like, my thing, like, of whether or not I'm okay with a sponsor. Is the thing a scam or, like, promoting, like, something I just objectively don't agree with, right? So, like, BetterHelp, no, right? A scam. Like that one, like the thing the quartering got where it's like, yeah, probably no. You guys probably know the one. But like, anything else, right? Like let's say like I got a sponsorship of like one of those food delivery things. It's like, hey, as long as you guys don't have a history of not doing the food, I'm good, right? I can sponsor you. Like I don't really have a moral quandary against the people overpaying for food. You can do it, right? Like people are getting what they're paying for, even if they're paying more than they should, right? You know what I mean? And that's ultimately the thing, right? Like is it they are getting what they pay for kind of thing, or no?
This is literally the same guy who has taken multiple BetterHelp sponsorships. For those of you who don't know...
Oh, well, there we go. Well, that immediately makes me care less about his point.
BetterHelp has been exposed.
I think I saw that and I didn't really register that was on screen because I didn't look and see BetterHelp until he said it. So all this BetterHelp ones, like, trust me, I was not looking at that and paying attention to that, but it did say it on the screen the whole time. So you might think I did that on purpose. I did not. It just, our brain cells merged for a bit.
Horrendous company multiple times over the years, and I believe most recently, 2 years ago, they were caught leaking personal medical information from its users. This stuff about BetterHelp is very well known by YouTubers. PewDiePie even covered it a bunch of years ago, and as someone who has had a YouTube channel since he was a child, there is no way that Noah didn't know about the BetterHelp drama. The idea that Noah doesn't care about money and is just covering the Israel-Palestine situation out of the kindness of his heart and not because it's easy views is insane. Because in reality, Noah is trying to monetize this content in every possible way, like showing his Patreon at the start of each video.
If you like my videos and want to help me make
them
and faster, consider joining my Patreon. Thanks.
This is like Noah saying, I care so much about money that I want this to be the first thing that you see. The first 15 seconds of your video are the most important part of it, and him putting money first tells you what his priorities are. Oh shit,
yeah.
Sponsor link?
One tool I found helpful to compare these differences in this sort of coverage is Ground News, who are also the sponsor of today's video.
Hey look, here's a sponsor link on his second video.
This is why I'm excited to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Proton Mail.
What's this, Noah? How could you monetize this tragedy? Not to mention that the instant he gets demonetized, he goes to his community tab to e-beg his audience to donate. Which means Mr. I don't care about money is monetizing his video in 3 different ways. Watch page ads, Patreon donations, and brand deals. So let's be clear, if there wasn't money involved in this, Noah would not be covering this topic. Now, not to say that YouTubers can't make money. I mean, this world is tough, and if you can get the views, then you should get your bag too. I'm not here to try to cancel people for making money off their work, but what I will do is make fun of frauds like Noah, who pretend they have the moral high ground when they are doing the exact same thing they said is bad. Noah is clearly doing this for money, and I imagine that another reason that he stopped covering creator drama as much and shifted to Israel-Palestine is because he kept getting roasted and destroyed in every drama that he was involved in. I really don't think there's one drama that Noah has won. And personally, I think there's going to be a few more consequences to losing this drama than there were for the other ones. The most recent update from Ethan Klein was a live stream where he further emphasized that he was serious about this and won't be backing down legally.
Noah Samson, me and Mudahar together teamed up and we sent a demand for retraction to Noah Samson Monday night after the show. And so, the ball is now in your court, sir. You have 20 days from the moment you received it to respond.
He also informed people that he would be going after Bad Empanada as well, which is a whole nother defamation rabbit hole to go down. Unfortunately, Bad Empanada lives in Argentina, which makes it a lot harder to go after him for defamation and harassment. However, Ethan has noted that after Bad Empanada went after his children, he is willing to spend obscene amounts of money to make sure that Bad Empanada actually gets in trouble for breaking the law.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they pushed it so far to the point where there needs to be accountability. People like George Janitis, the human STD, and people like Noah Samson, they are materially rewarded. They get no pushback from their community. They get plugged. They get massively shouted out and supported by Hassan and co. So for them, they just see green lights all the way. Like, oh yeah, the more I lie, the more malicious that I be about this person, the more views, the more... Hassan's going to put me on for sure, just as mean as I can be about Mudahar or Ethan or anyone that's talked bad about him. So they've created this atmosphere, and listen, it's time for some accountability. I think it's a good thing that, you know, a Jew and a Muslim are together standing up for what's right against just, like... It's beautiful, man.
Well, I guess there's a silver lining in that. Now, there's one more interesting perception that Ethan had here about this whole situation during his live stream. Allow me to just play it.
What Hassan does, you guys are going to learn throughout all this, is that these are his attack dogs. He uses them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To say the shit that he wouldn't say, to attack the people in ways that is obviously below the belt, that is unacceptable. And instead of having to say it himself, he rewards them by watching their entire videos on his stream in its entirety. And it's basically as good as him saying it in that case, but he doesn't have any of the liability. So that's why he throws it. And now in George's case, this is proven a symbiotic relationship because George is out in Argentina away from most forms of accountability, right? Now, Noah is actually being played as a fucking idiot because Noah is doing his dirty work, but he's doing it from Los Angeles. Now, what do you think of that? Noah, you're about to find out that you're a tool, my friend.
Yep.
And I look forward to Hassan paying for your lawyer fees, too. I mean, that's the least he could do, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think Hassan is 100% using these people as a mouthpiece to say the stuff that he actually wants to say, and in return, he gives them an audience and privileges and protections at Twitch. He's sacrificing them so he doesn't get in trouble. So personally for me, anytime Hassan signal boosts one of these sociopaths by reacting to their content, I'm going to assume that it's just as good as him saying it. As for what to do now, all I have to say is that war is a complicated situation. Personally, I think there are very few wars that are done for just reasons, and almost all of them are about land and resources at the cost of innocent people's lives.
Oh yeah, like even this one, right? Like, I mean, hell, like this one legitimately is about land. Like, so regardless of what side you fall on, it's about land, right? Very rarely is it ever like actually that simple. But in this case, it fun enough actually is. But regardless, you know, it's still a bunch of like just incredibly bad actors and stuff here. And yeah, anyone who like watches these guys, you know, like fuck you. Like honestly at this point, just fuck you. Just you've had many chances to grow some brain cells, right? Nah, I'm just joking. I fucked up with like takes of my own too. Like there's no ever one side is just all bad kind of thing here at all. Right. But yeah, I'm just gonna be honest though. These guys are a little too fucked up in their heads. And yeah, it's just kind of really bad. Yeah, we kind of need to just admit that some things need to be dealt with healthier, you know? That being said, you know, Think Before You Sleep had a pretty good video here. Like I said, I don't really care about politics the way a lot of people think I do. I do care about politics, but it's not like I'm like, oh, this side good, this side bad. I think particular ideas and people are bad, sure. But I don't really like this whole, oh, everyone who thinks X or Y is a bad person. And this is why. Look at where it leads to, right? These are the people with that mindset. So now that we know where that mindset of us versus them and always, you know, be okay with sending all this disinformation and stuff everyone's way and all that, hopefully we can, even though, you know, the hopes are very thin, still hopefully we can recognize that it's unhealthy. But something tells me we won't, sadly, for a little while. Anyway, I've had fun covering this. And yeah, like I said, I have some bad videos too now. But my thing is, I try to like at least like, you know, I try to just make videos for fun, and you know sometimes it's just like my videos get too spicy and stuff, right? But like this bullshit like is like, you know what, I think like this is like reason for me to just not be like these people So yeah, don't be like Hassan. Hassan bad. Anyway, see ya.